Oi, oi, Flat of British, Martin Liedtkes speaking for a special show, guys. This is going to be a fantastic melt out, and we've got some brilliant guests here, meltologists. In the subject of meltology, if you're not familiar with this subject, you will be. You will be having your Bryans blown apart in this show tonight. It's very exciting. Let me welcome people who I've been following. Your show's called Ripple Effect, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been following the Ripple Effect on Jenn's channel, where Bill's been presenting as well, and it's literally been blowing my mind, and not much does, guys. So you want to check this stuff out. We'll be talking about it throughout this show, and there's going to be lots and lots to present. So make sure to share this out. Let me introduce the guests. First, Jenny. Good to see you again, my friend.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Martin.
Most welcome. You know, when you came to the, you presented for me at the convention, at my convention, you were fantastic. You literally gave me shivers about 2 or 3 times. It was just them right words that you say at the right time sometimes when it happens like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it happens rarely, but you really did hit the point, and you really did hit the moment. And I was like, yeah. So on the money. So that was brilliant. Thanks for that, Jen.
It's always a good day when a man tells me I gave him chills. So
I had shivers. I told everybody in there as well. I showed everyone. I was like that, and my hairs were like, Zhish.
Yeah. That's the feeling.
And Bill Miller, who's been basically in my chat for absolutely years and years. I've known both these guys actually for years. I've known Jen for probably 7 years since I first seen her. So, Bill.
Yes.
Welcome
Martin.
to Earth British. It's an
Thank
honor
you.
to have you here. I'm so chuffed that you are embracing this field in such a glorious way. I'm just mind blown by it all.
Yeah, man.
Stuff, man.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I mean, when I started following you maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, very inspirational. I mean, you opened my eyes to things that I'd never seen before. And I even back then I thought one day I'm going to share my findings with Martin. And then here I am.
There you go.
Yeah.
You knew what you were going to do. And they have fantastic findings. And you've put the work in, you know, which I respect.
Thank you.
You know, I know how much it takes, so much time to find these bits of nuggets.
It does.
You know, because something I'm finding, even with the seemingly mundane picture, every picture tells a story.
Yes. And now you start to see it in new eyes now. When you're looking at photographs with these eyes, your eye tells your brain a new story. You're like, oh, wait a minute, my worldview may have changed now based on this new information I have. And you start to look at things through a new perspective, and it's really, really eye-opening and, in your words, mind-blowing.
Well, this event that we are talking about, this cataclysm, this Armageddon that happened in the recent past, is actually talked about in many ancient manuscripts. You know, Homer's Iliad, Odyssey as well touches upon plasma discharge event, and floods and tides, all caused by this compression, agitated EM, bam, whole place goes. Seas lifting, seas falling away, you know. And these questions you're asking are important because geology, you know, is not explaining shit. I'm not buying any of it, you know, like the White Cliffs of Dover, for example. They're made out of calcite. Calcite is shells, it's sea critters. Okay, so at some stage they're saying this was on the sea floor, and it literally looks like it's been ripped up. The entire place of the UK has just been ripped off the sea. And I think, you know, like with Atlantis rising and falling, some of these, you know, the drop. You know, they mentioned the drop, big drop. And you know, the effects on the surface and these cities are just the classical world. Just why are they massive and monumental? Because these people were massive and monumental.
Boy, they put some time and effort into this. I mean, they give us, I think, the mainstream narrative. They try to tell us something, but they pervert it so badly. So there was probably a lot of movement. You know, things were moving around and getting wrecked, and I think they just turned that into plate tectonics, right? So, you know.
There's an unusual thing for Great Britain. If you check the record, there's a load of buildings like Glastonbury Tor, which I visited recently, St Michael's Church, which has fallen in an earthquake in the 14th century. And I've got churches in England, in Wales here, that are displaced and fallen down mountains. And they say, oh yeah, that was the earthquakes. Towers that have fallen because of the earthquakes. Now, I've been around 50 odd years, and I can't remember any earthquakes happening in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Why were they more frequent in the past? Or is it just this one event where all of these buildings, basically.
Yeah.
And I feel they had shockwaves as well after the big one. You know how you coin X Factor event, Jen.
Yeah.
Like when they say with earthquakes, shockwaves after, because I think there was minor, like what I noticed. I was studying a Mudflood book last night. Is after all of the water goes away and everything looks melted and is covered in slurry, you get a lot of plant growth growing on top of these monuments, almost as if there's sediments of earth on top of them as well, like it's coming from above. Somebody mentioned in a show the other night I was really interested in, with saying about the amount of records, anomalous things like the fish falling from the sky in Wales.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I've forgotten about that.
And there seem to be always aquatic beings, like what live in water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they like to say a wind tunnel sucked up the fish out of the water, and then it came over land and dumped them somewhere. I don't know.
Right. Well, that sounds like it may be a thing, but they'd have to prove that, wouldn't they?
Yeah. That's an extraordinary claim, and that would demand extraordinary proof or evidence.
Yeah. It's rained all sorts, but they always seem to be fishes. Seems to be the prominent one.
I'd forgotten about that. That's so cool.
Coming from up there.
Well, I was just mentioning before the show, when I was a teenager and up until probably my 20s, I was regularly electrocuted when I was out. If I touched a shop rail, zap, door handle, zap, all the time. And it hasn't happened to me for years. And I've been under the suspicion that there's something going on with the electromagnetic field, which there is.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And they'll even tell you there's a fluctuating magnetic declination on the North Pole. They say it's coming as far south as the Russian border. It's not where it is anymore. So I'm feeling that the EM or the static is dropped a bit now. Like in the past, during the Antiquitech days, there was obviously extra electromagnetics in the atmosphere, because you can see these things sparking, the way people are dressing. I think the sun was a damn sight hotter. Yeah, I think the sun was probably dangerous as well to these people. Why the hell would you go on a beach completely covered up? They say it's down to decency, but I don't think that was the case, because if that's the case, like you said with airplanes last night or the other night, Jen, the Wright brothers, what was it you said on gaffer tape and a prayer?
Yeah, they get off the ground for 15 minutes with 19-minute prayer.
Yeah,
and next thing you know, everybody's got airplanes and they're dropping bombs everywhere.
5 years later, they had, and they're thinking about aircraft carriers as well in the First World War. This is just like, you're launching them off ships 5 years, 6 years later. It's like, yeah. But we know that's not the case. But it's just then, it's that, isn't it? They're narratives, and then you go with it. Same with the free electric.
Well, we think that they're the authority, like geologists or historians and, the teachers and stuff. And they're the authority, and what they know, they're teaching us, so it must be right. We don't question it at all based on that it's the authority giving it to us. Yeah, I mean, we might question it a little here and there, but, they just give her the mainstream answers to that, and you just move on. And especially when you're young, we learn a lot of this stuff about the continents and geology and a lot of the historical narratives when we're very young in grade school, where we don't even think to ask certain questions, and we just we regurgitate it back out onto a test. We get an A or an F, and we move on.
Yeah. I mean, I think it helps that whoever they are, they moved populations around on the plane, right? So mass people were showing up in places like we hear about the orphan trains. And when you think about, if you can get the first generation of gullible people in a land, whatever you want on their mind. And what they did in the United States is there used to be a saying called "Go West" or "Go West, young man." And so they were trying to get all these people to go west back in the 1800s and 1900s, probably because the West, there was nobody out there. Something had happened and the population was gone, so they needed to repopulate the West. But if you had people staged along the way, along the Oregon Trail and all the routes through the Rocky Mountains, and people are starting to see these anomalous features, If there's a scout that's gone ahead, he can tell you whatever they want to tell you, and those people, thousands after thousands, hear it from the park ranger or from the farmer or whatever, and then they tell their children, and their children tell their children, and that's how they do it, man. It's
I mean, how do they know that things took millions and hundreds of thousands of years to form? Where is their proof for this?
Their only defense with the globe model as well. Everything's light years. Everything's far away. Everything's indistinguishable. Quantum mechanics. Everything you can't see down there. Same as germs can't see it down there. It's just the same thing. It's just that everything is based on assumption. We assume geology is correct. Can we prove plate tectonics? No, we can't. Can we prove that there's the, say, mid-Atlantic mountain range? No, we only ever get images on Google. We can't actually check out whether there's a massive mountain range outside of CIA Google Earth, existing. So everything is assumed, and you just go with it. But I've never bought it. I was in a valley when I was a kid, right, in Wales, and on top of the mountain were huge stones. And I was like, well, how did the glacier dump these here? I thought they were supposed to have a sandpaper effect and just deposit them on the bottom of the valley. How are they up
How
here?
to get way up there?
Yeah, and I'm looking up then, thinking because we're like 2,000 foot up here. How did this get up here? And then I questioned glacial deposit then and glaciation as for that particular valley.
Yeah.
And that was when I was in high school. I had issues about glaciation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the glaciers were said to be able to have stacked stones in formations, very precariously balanced.
Right.
And you'll get, I forget the name of what that is, but there's evidence of that all over the place. These precariously balanced rocks that it looks like it has to have been done by handiwork.
It looks like somebody's just balanced it there, and they say it's where it's all receded away.
Right.
It's just left it there. It's just what, did that happen in an instant?
Yeah.
You also mentioned something interesting about mammoths and giant elephants. Now, I have seen images about with giant elephants, and there's a lot of these new programs, contemporary programs, they really love to have back to this time we talk about, like the Lords of the Rings, etc. And they got all this, and they're getting more and more. And there's a few of them lately have just been showing battle elephants, humongous elephants. I shared you a link in your emails yesterday, day before, and there was a site, I think it was in Arizona, called Elephant Teeth Caves. When you go in there, they just look like elephant teeth in there.
Wow. Yeah. I'll have to look at it.
It's the Stellium 7. I think he's kind of
Mike.
Okay.
I know Mike. I know
you do?
Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Fantastic
Excellent.
stuff. Yeah, so we don't know this. We don't know anything about it. I read a book recently, The Great Work, and it's just left me in the state now, guys, right, where I'm not going to presume anything anymore. I don't. It's not a globe 100%. They're talking shit, but what is it? What is its existence? It's just everything seems to be water related. So it's all to do with the water. We're made of mostly water. Everything's about water, vibration, resonance, and keys, which are musical notes, and that's the keys. We find that vibration, we just we're gonna light up like that. See, they've lost. You know this, don't you? The supremacy is gone. We were on them years ago. They fucked up. And we knew this. All the weird stuff started happening. Like if you was in the flat Earth, you was watching it all, and they were responding to the truthers. With these things. And then there was the big shut up everybody then for 2 years ago, wasn't it?
The algorithm.
Be quiet. Stay home. All of you. Think about what you've done.
I don't apologize.
I don't ever apologize. Don't be doing that. Don't be apologizing to them anyway.
No.
So let me just welcome. We got a few people in the chat. We have 300 odd of you just turned up. Thank you.
Wow.
So I'll give you all a few shouts in a minute, guys. Okay. So I'm just going to give throw a quick couple of pictures out to the guys here and give them some idea. Now we talked about coasts as well as the inner. They seem to have been forced up, and they definitely show melting. But what I found a year or so ago, about probably 2 or 3 miles from where I live, the weird thing about this one is, but honestly, right, they were warning that it falls away. And my son and my friends, Mel, was standing underneath it. And I'm going, get the fuck out. Get out from there. That could fall. Literally 2 days later, front page of the newspapers, right? It'd fallen. Literally where they were, these two. So, yeah, see these? They're wooden. They're petrified wood. Right the way out on the coast. Showing that there was some sort of...
Like pier or something.
Maybe some sort of pier, but they are wood. And they're...
obvious, yeah.
Fossilized, but if you check, there you are, that's definitely wood.
Yeah.
But you check the floor out, and it is, excuse me, let me just show you here. It is literally mind blowing. So that is supposed to be natural. That's geology. God did that, did he?
No way.
God did that. God laid them stones all in a line like a bricklayer. I used to be a stonemason. This ain't bad work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
It's been attacked by the sea, but it's work. You know, look at the scrapes here.
It kind of looks like the streets of Pompeii.
I'm telling you, it does. And look how vast it is. And look at these strange round things on top. And honestly, there's a wall there, right? Apart from this, all looks like literally layered brick, and it is.
Oh, there's what fell down right there.
Yeah, and they were right by here, and I'm like, get away.
That I always wondered about, like, after one of those falls, if you could go in there, maybe like an opening, you know,
there's
appears.
loads of cliffs here. Loads of cliffs along this coast. Yeah. One of them, there's a tale that King Arthur is in there with his knights laying in stone. And there's treasure in there. And if you go to try and steal the treasure, King Arthur and his knights will come to life and kill you.
I don't doubt it.
And it's on this coast, sure. It's on this coast. So, yeah, natural geological formation. There's like this row of stones are a bit weird as well.
Does that go underwater at high tide?
Oh, yes. And check this out. So that's natural geological formation.
Look at that. Wow.
I know.
Now, the rounded stones, that, of course, could be from the tide coming in and going back out and coming in and pulling these stones back and forth, if that's what's happening, and they could get rounded that way. Yeah. But we see a lot of right angles here, guys, on the
well,
base.
Look at that there. It's just unmistakably like...
That's handiwork.
Nature
that's
cannot
brick all day long, guys.
Yeah. Nature does not do this, okay? That's just like insulting my intelligence to say that nature could do that in natural geological formation. And
and isn't it interesting how we were always told there's no right angles in nature?
I've heard that.
Was that to
crystals got edges, crystals and stuff. Yeah, okay, they got sort of edges, but it's a bit of a disnormal. I think it's like this sort of thing with perpendicular beds. This is a bricklaying trait for, you know.
Yeah.
And this is literally a floor at some stage.
Damn.
Yeah?
Absolutely. So we're saying that was brick at one time, and now it looks like what? Regular old stone, right?
Well, it's got a lot of that sea stuff on it. Like there's literally like organisms like covering it all, like little crustaceans. But there's tool work here, or some sort of. You see that? A slit track right through there. And this thing is just like, and this literally, there is fortresses in the ancient maps all along this coast, and like literally where this is. So this is part of an ancient fortress system.
I bet it is, yeah.
And it's just been like melted. And we were like literally discussing, this was maybe 2 years ago. It's like, holy fuck.
That's
it's
incredible.
Like, yeah, you're going right up. Like there's wicked big fossils in there.
Holy moly.
I'm amplified, what it's called, excuse me.
Excellent.
There's supposed to be dinosaur prints there as well.
Oh, they're mortar lines.
Well, my friend was thinking more in the lines of sinew. She's a bit of a... Yeah, I know. Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just block work. And there's holes going right in there, see? Like windows.
Yeah.
See that, yeah? So, yeah, that's my son there, Lawrence. And look at this. This is the floor of a beach. My ass.
Wow.
They're taking the... it just gets me to think that they're saying that.
Meltology 101, baby.
Yeah, and I just, you know, I was just like, I've melted to fuckness. That was a video of mine. So, yeah, we was just talking earlier, Jen, about one of the questions, important,
India.
They will bring up, so we will get it out of the way, okay, is all of it melted?
Well,
I think so.
Let me ask you this, okay? Looking at this picture here, if we zoom in on it, you can see where they would say it's carved, right? But then the rest of it is supposed to be natural, right? And it's just carved in that little section going in. But what we're telling you is that this whole building, the whole thing was a building, and it's melted, and this is a pocket of survival. So that part on the outer part where they're saying is natural, imagine that on a grander scale. And I do think for the most part, most mountains are melted buildings. I think, there could be room for, giant fossilized petrified things like
mining spoil as well.
I'm not excluding those, but the things that I've looked at, 99% of the stuff that I've shown on my show, and I feel 100% confident that these are actually melted buildings like this, where you have a pocket of survival there where the bricks stayed and you can still make it out, but the rest of it is melted. Nobody carved these janky, weird windows up there, It's,
I've seen it. I've seen evidence. You bang on, Jen. I've seen evidence that got to be the case, where it just lips over.
Yeah.
Like, for example, here on this headstone, on this lintel here, why we're going to, like, literally carve under this stone and then put the stone back on? Because this is under it. And this is dripped over it. You can see
it's rock curtaining over it. And whatever may have been roofing on this thing seems to have melted down, too. I think a lot of this darker discoloring that we see running down stuff was part of the roofing to these structures.
Good one.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure, but to me, that's what it looks like.
Good one.
I have to test some of this stuff or something. I'm going to try to get a sample of it.
So the story that they would tell us, like if somebody were to ask, why are those bricks up there on that last picture? The stories that they tell are so unbelievable. Like who would come along 200-300 whatever years ago and put in and lay bricks like that, and for what reason? It's
not shoring it up so it collapses or anything like that, is it? It's just
I don't think it would collapse because it's solidified that way, which means it's fused together. It's not going to go anywhere.
There's one in the centre of Nottingham called Hemlock Stone. And it's been there like from time immemorial, but it looks exactly like this. And it's a melted single structure.
Right. But you can also see where the brick melts right into that wall that's melted. So they could say that this is newer brick and they came in to shear this up. But where's this transition period? It goes right into it. And then you can see really good brick and then damaged brick and then the melt. So it's it didn't make its way over to that part of the brick and it survived.
They call Petra for a reason.
Petra.
Because it's been petrified.
Absolutely. That's a really good one there. This one's in Greece, though. This is more.
Yeah, this is in Greece. Yeah. So this is a
Petra is a good place to start if you're looking at melted buildings.
I
you
agree.
should look at Petra. It makes so much more sense once you realize it was melted during some type of extreme heat event. It's like, of course, I can see it now. Now, here's all this black, drippy, runny stuff coming down from the top.
Yeah. Well, blue as well, so that sort of suggests copper oxide.
Right, there you go, which is part of the roofing that we see in a lot of these buildings.
Exactly, the copper domes, exactly, yeah. So that's an interesting little shot there.
Look at that.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
So this is, I went recently, right? And I didn't know that was there. I didn't know that was there. And there's a few places like that in Britain. I've seen some unbelievable melted evidence, though, over the last year or two, honestly.
Okay, so here's a really good example.
Yeah.
You can see, the heat's rising from the bottom, but in the center part here where she goes up the steps, it ballooned out. The pressure got so bad in that section there that it's literally expanded into each other and expanded out. So all those different levels of bricks are now one giant ballooned out piece right there and riding up the one side of the wall. You could make it out on the bottom layer, down on the lower steps off to the left, the brick pattern, and then it melts back into a solid piece.
Yes.
So the heat distribution was not even. There's parts where it got melted down really bad on one side, and then the other side could be in perfect condition still. So this extreme heat event almost seems like it was kind of like a dispersal through, like, say, the grid system below us, the motherboard system frying and the heat coming up. Certain components on our grid system, like this component, it's melted down, but it's not to the point where you can't make it out anymore. You can still see that it was something there.
Yeah. I love those photographs where they compare a melted circuit board or a good circuit board with a city.
Floppy like this, Jen. I think you're nailing it.
And you can't tell it apart.
Yeah.
There you go. Now, see, this is melted down so much that you can't really make out anything. But I'm sure if we got in there, we would probably start seeing the brick layers. It looks to me like maybe even the facading is still there. Some of it's melted off in some parts, but some of it's ran down. You can also see the black stuff running down it.
Hasn't it?
That's what I think. I think the red stuff below is the red brick, and this building had got the facade treatment. Some buildings hadn't got it yet because back in the old world they were just building and building and building, and there was crews just doing all sorts of stuff. So you start with a red brick building, but then that crew leaves and goes on to the next brick building, but then later the facade crew comes in and coats it. So I think that lighter color stuff 100%. Is the facade, and the below is the red brick.
Yeah, I agree completely, Bill. But doesn't that just looks melted?
Yeah.
Melted, yeah.
Like, what is that? Not melted. So Flavian.
Wow, look at this.
Yeah, Flavia. So I'm not sure what would stop off there. Maybe a balloon stop in the past.
Yeah.
And these things.
Oh, wow. I love this, Martin. This is a really good comparison. I did a live stream a long time ago on India. India is mostly 11th and 12th century, and they really don't know who or how they built it. They'll admit it in their culture. We don't know how it was built, and we think it might be the 11th century. So they don't know. But look at this. You're inside.
They don't know. You know what? I've seen a book admit from academia that they're clutching at straws about the past.
Yes.
Even academia. We are probably getting more answers. They're probably watching us, and we're doing their work for them.
Go back to that last picture.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So there on the right, you're in a cave. Okay, or the geologist will tell you you're in a cave, but you're actually on the interior of a melted building, a pocket of survival that you're able to walk into or climb into. And you see these types of things, which they call stalactites, stalagmites, all this stuff. I always felt that they were some type of decorations that were in these buildings, statues, columns.
Jen, I never thought that.
Yeah.
Because they do look like sort of like majestic. They look like they could be decoration.
Yeah.
How do we know what they're
That's a really good comparison picture.
That's really good.
You have to send that one to me.
Yeah, sure. Now this is in Wales, and like this folding you see, like I say, with the cliffs, everything just seemed to be just like forced up from the seabed or dropped as well. Look at this for melted brickage.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
oh my.
A lot of people like to say bricks can't melt. It's impossible. They'll explode under heat and pressure.
Mist or Irish fog.
That's melted as fuck, if you ask me.
Yeah. Melted as fuck.
Muffed up.
It's all muffed up.
Yeah, and there's bubble ones. If they get certain heats, they're used again. They put them in here, and they've just bubbled, so they were, they could still be reused.
Popcorning, I think.
Popcorning, that's the phrase. But they get a bit, you can get them where they go.
Blocky.
Bit like more melted on the corner. Yeah. Look at the coin on there on the corner.
Yeah, it almost seems like a heat wave frequency going through it.
100%.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, I got loads. So,
what's this? A pyramid? A melted pyramid?
I don't even know where the site is, if I'm honest with you. But it looks in the Middle East anyway.
I would say Middle East.
We see this a lot of porous as well, like you said, with that like compression or they're bubbling. I went to see a site recently, and a couple of years back, and it's the biggest Neolithic site in Wales, one of the oldest in the world, older than Stonehenge, called Tinkin's Wood. And we were stating, like, with these like bits like that, it looks like it's a bubble and it's just burst, where it was just hot, like boiling water or boiling mud,
Yeah. Well, if that was underwater, they would tell you that was part of a coral reef.
Well, I'm sure that they would.
Yeah, that's what they say about that stuff.
And I'm sure you've seen the brick batteries in the past, haven't you?
Yeah. I've seen that photograph before.
How widespread were they in the circuitry for the cities?
bricks were supercapacitors. They stored energy. It would make sense that they would use brick in the old world, especially if they were building out on the natural ley line energy of our plane and harnessing that, plus the etheric energy, the natural static energy in the air.
That started life as a brick and doesn't look like one now. We can still see the red bit, but it's completely changed its structure. It's blackened, it's shiny a bit.
It's almost like
mica. Like you say, it's like, do you know, like when you're baking a souffle and the top floats up.
Yep, but this blackened part right here, where it's kind of glossy and shiny looking, it's turning into like a mica kind of thing or something. What do they call that? That glass material. This is the crystallization that's taking place here.
Super interesting. And excuse me. And they've used some bubble ones. I went to when I went to the Czech Republic recently, they had stones in this one town, bricks, excuse me, and they were like about 4 times the size of a normal brick. I was like, well, even if you had 2 hands, you'd be struggling. These laid by giants, because they're like giant bricks. So there's some scorched brickage.
Sure is.
I'd like to point out the scorched brickage here. You could still make out the parallel lines. And
the beds, the perpendiculars.
Yes,
all
we see that everywhere. And a lot of where I go to Mount Chiha around here, you could still see the mortar lines going through things. They call it quartz crystal now. But these are mortar lines that are left over, and they look just like that.
No, they're not. They can't be a vein or a seam, because I've seen the same like literally recently, and there was like right angles, and it's like, I don't think so somehow. Excuse me, I'm going the wrong way. And look at this. You ever seen this one?
I think I have a long time ago. That looks like the start of a rock curtain there. If that would have kept melting, it would have came down over.
And there's one in Italy where this happens, and they put a street under it. Yeah. I think this might be it. It goes further down and it drips over and causes a tunnel effect.
That's where the souffle falls. Like,
the souffle flops over. It got a bit too much heat. This is the top of this mountain, this hill in Nottingham where I go. And this is this hemlock stone. Curious name as well. But it's just, you got to throw stone in there. I threw a spliff for the thing.
That's definitely melted brick all day long right there. And it's squishing down on itself too. People don't fully comprehend when we talk about this stuff, and you see the brick layers and they're squished down. That's the weight and the pressure of the building or the structure above it. It's getting compressed. This is where your crystallization will take place as well, with that heat and pressure.
Yeah.
And
black in there as well, But like the towers, they go do and everything.
So this, for example, this right here could have been way larger than what we're seeing here. Just imagine it 3 to 4 times larger than what it is. Pull it up and stretch it out and make it in the way it. I wish we could do some kind of Photoshop thing where we could show a building melt down and come back up again. But even the mountains and
program
stuff,
you can do that though, Jen, where you can reverse it and pull it.
I got to do something, because I could see it in my head happening. I want to make it happen on screen.
So I've been reading this book. I'll share this, so I'll have to. It's American Antiquities, and they do. It's just all the sites you can imagine everywhere, right? I mean, everywhere in America, New Mexico, all the stuff you've been talking about, guys.
Yeah.
And I noticed here they were talking about in Jonathan Creek, Morgan County, some mounds and the bases are formed by burnt bricks between 4 or 5 inches square. Then on the bricks were charcoal cinders and pieces of calcined human bones. And that was just a random pick. It talked about melted fucking bricks. And the whole book is about these sites, you mentioned with the oral tradition of Native Americans and stuff. So it's talking about that. It's 400 pages of sites with Greco-Romano buildings and stuff.
Fascinating.
They fascinating. They'll tell you the origins, which I've talked about all along. Ancient letters of the Phoenicians and the Americans. They show you that they got the Punic, Phoenician, Carthaginian language.
Wow.
It's all the language we're speaking now. And they've got evidence of it in North America, even in Malta on this plaque here. But it's what we're all talking, guys. We're all talking Phoenician, and there's the evidence there. So that's all part of this as well. The plasma reset as well, and the med flood, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop sharing.
Yeah.
So, That's what the game is there is evidence through antiquity, though. Even the Bhagavad Gita talks of a massive event where this place gets melted down, where they talk about it was like they talk it in the terms of like some sort of atomic war, because there were
yes,
and it's in the Bible too. The X factors in the Bible. God melted the earth like wax. Cities, he melted cities, inhabitants, all kinds of melting going on in the Bible as well. And I find it interesting that they actually use the word melt.
Melt. Okay, what about them mammoths? They reckon that would died in an instant, and they would still have vegetation in their mouth.
Yeah.
From what they were eating when they died in an instant.
What is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
They're further north, aren't they? And they're in the tundra, so they were flash broke. Right.
Man.
Yeah. But in my distinction, that could be happening in one part, could be just a part of the same process where there's heat in another part. This is only in the tundra, by the way.
I agree.
There's evidence in if you look at the Mediterranean, like North Africa, you mentioned it, okay, is green and pleasant land. You've got the Fertile Crescent, which is green and pleasant in the Middle Ages. We got evidence that, there's big palaces, and this place is lush and green, and then suddenly it's the Sahara Desert and it's dust.
Yeah.
And if you look at maybe the Greek islands as an example, okay, they are just so splattered. In fact, the whole of the Mediterranean area is splattered. And they say there was an event called the Santorini event, okay, which was on the Minoan, the island, basically the Minoan civilization on a Knossos. And this place exploded and caused this biblical event. But I think it's in the narrative. But it's this event, and the Mediterranean shows it.
Well, they blame a lot of stuff on volcanoes.
All right, so where are all of them?
Yeah, I don't think they exist in the capacity.
I don't think they're what they say they are. How do we know? Right, you showed Yellowstone, and they're one of their scaremongering things is super volcanoes and super calderas, and there's one in Yellowstone that could end the world, and there's no
any day.
Any day. Their last eruption was like 250 million years ago, and we're due for one.
So we got proof that as far as that mountain range over there, there's lava under here that big, an ocean of lava that could come up. So we got proof of that. We just have to trust their word for it. Because Old Faithful seems to splurt up water all the time, doesn't it? Forever.
Yep.
So, if this lava was down there, wouldn't that sort of...
And I think you were onto something where it was like a flash freeze and things were moving around quite a bit. I mean, not only the land, but then I think almost every culture has a story of water, of flood. I'm wondering, did the water come in to put out the heat? The water came in after the heat.
I think you're right. Because if you work it out like, Sherlock Holmes there, so plasma event first, cleanse the place, okay, melt that civilization, water in later, so the Phoenicians can fucking get in, make the place inhabitable again, get earth on top, mud floods on top, the silt and all of the stuff is basically Noah's flood, isn't it?
Right.
Or the flood.
Right.
So, and then the waters then go, because they've got pumping stations, which are some of these buildings that we see, plus all of them windmills in Holland. They weren't for grinding corn originally. They were for getting pumping. They were pumping water off the land into the canals. Right. And the canals as well, getting water off the land.
There's so many canals.
They got the water off the land. They shored up the buildings. They faced up Phoenicia, Tartarian, replaced the population, did it all in an instant. And then I reckon we're so far away from our frame of reference, and the little bit that we're remembering is so fucking mind-blowing that we're getting ourselves ready for what comes next. I reckon it's out of this world.
I think this is why all this is happening now. All this is coming out. This is the apocalypse. Everything that was hidden from us is being revealed. We are the apocalypse, guys. It's coming out through us. We're bringing it out. We're the ones we've been waiting for this. Nobody's going to come to us and say, oh, look, they've been lying to you. We have to figure it out on our own, and then we bring it out. We brainstorm amongst each other. Yeah. I think that there was an absolute 100% solidification that happened right after the heat event. And I think water had something to do with that. Now, in my mind, because we don't know what the dome's made of. Okay, so say it's some kind of ice crystalline structure up there, right? So you have all this heat, the grid fries, right? There's an X factor event, whatever that looks like, I don't know. It could be a pole shift having to do with Polaris. So the heat's coming up from the bottom. Everything's frying. You got all this heat trapped in this one area of space, and then the dome starts to melt a few layers. There's your 40 days of rain, right?
Enter the water. Jen, this
Drip.
sequence is making
Drip.
so much fucking sense.
Drip.
That's just how my mind's going.
Drip.
Now, if I'm being, led by the Holy Spirit to see it like this, but this is how my mind is seeing it. I'm picturing it. It's like heat's rising, water's coming down. Things solidified mid-melt. We can find it all over.
Jen. I think you fucking got it. I think you got it, the sequence, That's the most sense I have heard since all these years.
That's the only way I can figure where the water came from. You know what I mean? Because they talk about heaven's gates being opened and the water coming down. If there was extreme heat and that thing is made out of some kind of crystalline ice structure up there, it would shed some of it down. It would start to melt like ice, just dripping down all these locations.
Yeah, I was thinking about it in my last post because I talked about the rainbow bombs shooting up, apparently in 62. To try and I was suggesting were they trying to not with conventional weapons, but were they trying to crack the dome? And did they cause some sort of fracture? And is this a bit? And I showed is this a bit of the dome? And I'm just saying that, but that is so. And then fires and that heat would. It's not even that far up. Now heat would go up.
Oh yeah, it has to go somewhere, and heat rises. So it's going to go up. It's going to be trapped. And it's going to start melting whatever's up there. For me, it makes sense.
And that would make the thunderstorms because these clouds would intensify the EM, and with that compression effect, again, with the electromagnetic and the static, this place would be crackling, literally crackling.
There was so much going on during it. It's not just about melted buildings, mud flood, and the water afterwards. There's so much going on all at once. We're just trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. We're also trying to figure out, after the flooding event and the cooling event, you might say, what's that time frame there where things had to settle down before people did come out and survey and start taking things down and claiming different spots? And then there's another time frame when you got people to come in and repopulate. So I think there's a good, maybe 60 to 100 years there of wiggle time, maybe say 1776 to 50 or 40.
Something like that, but maybe there was no time at all. Maybe they just stopped it all.
It could have. I don't know. I feel like things had to have settled down a little after all this took place. You couldn't just go back out. You know what I mean? I also feel like they could have had airships put away in certain locations, because how is it that they had these bird's eye views on such an early on like that? So they had to know it was
giant crystal dome buildings in antiquity, isn't there? Crystal Palace, all of the railway stations are all massive glass domes, and they would all be a hangar. And they could have stowed them. They could have done exactly that.
They probably, had some safe zones in different locations, had a good idea of where they could, survive the best and stuff and come back out.
I think some people retreated inwards, as crazy as that might sound. If those mountains were actually buildings, and we know about the canal systems, the underwater canal systems that connect this entire plain. For some reason, I think that you see those openings in the side of the melted buildings. I think people went inwards and downwards, possibly into these canal systems for a safe zone, and they could move, like a highway system, kind of.
Wow.
Yeah.
If they understood the grid system way better than we did, okay? They had to know, maybe they had some type of surge protection area, I think a lot of the cathedrals the cathodes may have survived the way they did because they had some type of surge protection around them.
Wow,
this type of antiquitech, we use it today.
Maybe they're still there. Maybe they're the others. And then we went on a different track, a different path.
Yeah.
Anything's on the table at this point because,
I like that motto. Everything's on the table for discussion.
They're not going to tell us, guys. We have to figure it out for ourselves. And for anybody to tell us to take a certain topic off the table because they don't like it and they think it's ridiculous, that's sad. And you should question why you're even listening to those people. That's all I got to say.
They don't tell you how to play your guitar. Okay, you play your guitar how exactly.
See, if we knew what all this was right from the beginning, say if we knew that we were connected to this event that takes place in this cyclical nature, right? And we were we knew about it. We were excited that it's going to happen. We were in a really high vibrational place. I don't think it would be as horrible as it has been in the past. I think,
I'm not really that worried anyway.
We're definitely connected to this in some way.
100%.
It depends on us how bad this X Factor event, this God's judgment, or whatever you want to call it's going to be.
Yeah, we got to sort of envision.
Well, they say God's judgment. If you're living according to God's laws, the judgment won't be so bad, right? Well, say if you take that and put X Factor over it, because some people don't like the term God's judgment. If you're not in the right headspace, in the right vibrational frequency, as a whole, humanity, it's not going to bode so well for you. But if you are in that really good place, if you are living by God's laws, or however you want to put it, then this event that takes place, you'll pretty much just move right through it and come out even better on the other side, not worse, where you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, I picked up something from Martin years ago. I mean, Martin would always say, set your intent. What you have your intent, just set your intent at the beginning of the day, set a good intent, and just follow through with your intent. And day after day, that builds, and the people that you interact with, they see that, and then they do it, and then that spreads to their friends. So we just set our intent and go forward with our best foot every day. I mean, that's just the approach.
Chase bad thoughts away in the morning.
Yeah.
Any bad thoughts, chase them away. Say,
gone.
Fuck that. That's not for me.
Yeah.
And set your intent. It's like doubt is the big key here.
Yeah.
If anyone doubts, it just disintegrates. It just disappears. And doubt is them. And doubt is the key. If we don't do that and it doesn't exist, everything is going to come into fruition no matter what you do. It's just, and beyond that point, and then on to the next, and on to the next. And you won't even have to think about it. Right. You won't even have to think about it. It's just like, it'd be a light thing,
I agree.
We're all just like, the mainstream doesn't help. I get so much people coming in, with the channels and all of that, and just coming out with all of this stuff that the mainstream gives them, like if there's some reality to it all concerning politicians, dialectics, all of it. It's like, if it's real, like they tell people anything, like that you just said, they're not going to tell us anything, Jen, anything ever. You got to get it.
If they're going to lie to you about what you're living on, you bet your bottom dollar they're going to lie to you about everything that encompasses us, guys. Right. And like I said, if you believe the geological narrative, if you believe the volcanology narrative, then you're going by the globe model, because that's what they base their geology and volcanology off of. I don't think volcanoes exist in the capacity that they want us to believe that they exist in. I think that these may have been some kind of towers that had melted down. The function of these towers, I'm not sure, but they seem to have been massive towers that have melted down. I have pictures that we're going to go through, pictures of 3 Mile Island and reactors and stuff, nuclear reactors with the huge towers that go up and stuff. And I think some of the things that we're looking at could be something similar to these type of, maybe not say nuclear, but some kind of energy collecting location, because they all seem to be right near water, just like ours are today.
Interesting. They are all on the coast there, aren't they? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like Vesuvius right there next to Naples.
Very interesting. That's very interesting.
Screen share if I can. Let's see here.
There's that film, they got these massive machines and they look like giant mountains upside down, in that film Oblivion with Tom Cruise, and they are literally generators. You ever seen that?
I've seen that, and that's a mud flood movie. He's riding over the top of everything.
I know, mad, isn't it? I watched. I watched recently. They're showing it in loads of movies. They showed literally meltage last week. It blew my head off. In I think it was Doctor Strange. Basically, goes into a mirror realm, and they literally flying through, and they show you all skyscrapers just like literally turn into rock from the top down, and all of the cities just like literally going from cities to what's behind you there, Bill. And they show you in the movie. I'm like, it's out. I thought it's out. They know about it.
Yeah. Whenever I watch anything now, even if it's an older show, when they pan into the mountains or they start a show with, the terrain and stuff, It's been in our faces just like flat Earth has been in our faces.
It is, and they're rubbing our faces. You were onto something with Mount Rushmore, and I think Levy was as well. Yeah, like you said about that guy, and he stopped for years. Not many come back, and nobody's seen them put this stuff, this chiseling away or undercovers. And I think the mountain itself, this like to draw your attraction to it. You'll see their controllers for presidents, and it's that mountain itself, and it's like. It's just a sheer face, isn't it? I think that's the key, is that bloody mountain. I
think you're right. John Levi did touch on that. I think he had a photograph that at Mount Rushmore used to be called the Seven Grandfathers.
Yes,
and there used to be 7 faces up there, but now they knocked a couple of the faces off, and they did a geopolymer over those faces. They didn't chisel Mount Rushmore. It was more of like a concrete. Sculpture kind of thing. Yeah. And so they did it kind of secretly. So they would do it under these tarps so people couldn't see how they were doing it, but they were applying something, not taking something off. Yeah.
It's a bit like that lead skilling with Coral Castle, isn't it?
Yeah. How did he move that? Yeah. Moved his castle.
They're definitely hiding something with Mount Rushmore. There's a few other chambers back behind the heads. I don't know if you guys ever looked into that, but there's these big square, rectangular, empty chambers. They said that they were supposed to have been vaults at one time. They were going to use them to store, Declaration of Independence in there or something. Not that particular document, but documents like that.
Interesting.
But they never got
Petra is that as well. They say Petra's a treasury, that building, that one building, a bank. But the entire valley is supposed to be in a treasury. For what? For what? And why is it melted? And it's all down in this valley as well, isn't it? So this is just completely melted, whatever it was.
And why is it called treasury, something in there, something inside there.
Something was, and they took it out already. But there's a lot going on under Petra that nobody talks about. I have a friend that lives in Europe, and he said that he went to Petra like 4 or 5 years ago, and he said that there's a lot of grates on the ground, and you can see that it goes down under. But they don't let anybody down in those areas. So there's a lot going on underground there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I've got a Truth Seeker 6 just joined, but I haven't got a foggiest how he's managed to get in without the link. And I don't know what he's doing here at all. Or I can't be sniped. It's not on StreamYard. That would be highly unlikely. But I'm not going to click it just in case. Some sort of link. That's a very strange thing.
I just shared it with Jenn.
I know that. I'm just saying, Manny wants to come and talk. Well, he's not.
Oh, you know who it is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. It's like says Truth Seeker. No, that's you, is it, Jen? You got two in?
I have a screen share ready to go.
Oh, there you are, lovely.
That's me.
Oh, I wonder what that was then. Sorry, Manny, you there? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were trying to get in there.
We got it sorted out.
How many of you are there? For fuck's sake. Jenny's the original, though. I just got to get that out there.
One of my channels was the DomesticTruther69 original.
Where's that now then? What's
they took they took them all down. I know.
We got loads in chat. We got 540 odd watching.
Boston Ray Mudflood Adventures is here. Hey, Ray.
He's welcome to join sometime in the future as well. We can have a little show. I like Ray. He's
representing Boston.
He's a lovely man.
Yeah, I saw Ceiling Fan Man in here earlier too.
Ooh, I love Ceiling Fan Man. I goes and watches him. He's one of my little guilty pleasures. He is.
We love Ceiling Fan Man.
Yeah, I know somebody on about Subphonic there. Jerry, I've known for years. Who's on about Sidewood Stew. Only Subphonic to see this.
Jerry, I mean, he was a big one. He was influential. Years ago. When he did, I first came to Jerry when he did the Rahu and K2 video. It literally blew my mind where he had zoomed in and he saw whatever it was moving past the moon and coming back again. It was incredible. After that, I was like, this guy knows what's up.
He was good. And he came out with the phrase, the great densification, which I always liked.
Yeah, he's got a lot of good phrases.
Yeah. He's sound. He's clever guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I started my journey of Meltology. I heard one of his shows, and I listened to another one, and he showed the Ritz-Carlton. That one got me. I was like, oh, snap, this shit's melted. And because I was already on mud flood stuff and everything. And, I was just trying to really figure out what this guy was talking about. And it didn't take me too long. And just like Flat Earth and just like Mandela Effect, I took to it just like mud flood, like a duck to water. It didn't take me long to see this stuff and then go look for it for myself and find it everywhere and stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me photos of the Ritz-Carlton, went to see it just to show me and some photographs. It was like,
And if something sparks our attention, like us, I mean, it's good, because I think we've developed this thing where once the truth has been presented in front of us, we're on it. It's like, whoa, it's just together. Like, it comes and it flows. A week ago at this time, I had no idea that I was going to be here right now. I mean, between then and now, I've done two live streams with Jenn and one here with Martin. I've been collecting melted building evidence for the last couple of years, and that was the first time I presented it, and on Jenn's show. I mean, I just have all these files of photographs. It's like, I've got to do something with these.
Exciting.
Yeah, I am going to. I'm feeling it. Jenn, we were in a chat section on another live stream, and she invited me over, and I jumped at the chance to share it, and here we are a week later, and we're on a roll.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm awesome. What's this then, Jenn?
Okay, so I want to talk about mountains. People use the word so loosely. We think we know what mountains are, but actually the word mountain itself is descriptive. It means a large heap or pile of something. Oh. So when you think that those things over there are called mountains, but what is it a mountain of? For me, they're mountains of melted buildings. But here proves my point. It says here, now this is the basic definition for a mountain. Simple definition: a landform that rises prominently above its surroundings, generally exhibiting steep slopes, a relatively confined summit area, and considerable local relief. Now here's where it gets juicy, guys. Mountains generally are understood to be larger than hills, but the term has no standardized geological meaning. Boom, baby. Okay? Let that sink in for a minute. It has no standardized geological meaning at all. It's a mountain. A mountain of what? Okay? So there's that. When people are like saying, oh, you're crazy, you think mountains are melted buildings and all this stuff. Well, you tell me what a mountain is, because there's no standardized geological meaning. So there's that. And also the plumbing is still running in a lot of these buildings that are melted.
That's for sure.
I seen that the other night, and
That's
you was
sure.
bang on. I've seen evidence as well. Just like just like a pipe is snapped off and it's coming out the inside, and it's like, and it can't be a river because some of them are like down and like halfway and
are already on the top of the mountain. You can't get any higher.
All the water run out. It's where's the extinguishable amount of water coming out from, and you get 100-year-old photograph, and you found, didn't you, Jenn? Yep. And it was still coming out in the modern day.
I got it lined up.
It's the same exact flow.
We'll
like that, for example.
We'll see it. We'll see it in a little bit after Jenn presents.
Stuff,
so here for me is, they say this is a sinkhole, but to me it looks like a multi-level melted building, and that's what I actually named it as a multi-level.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And clearly the water is still running in this. It has to escape somewhere, so it'll shoot out anywhere it can. We call them waterfalls today. But that's what that looks like to me, is a multi-leveled melted building right there. And that's a really good picture.
That is a good one.
And
did you see?
Go to this next one.
Make sure to share this out, guys. Get people to watch all this beautiful juice. God, it's spoiled on a Wednesday night. Wow.
Hang on one second, guys. The picture went away on me. I have to get back to it again. My Facebook likes to do this to me sometimes. Okay, so here we go. Let's get this one up, if it'll work. It'll work for me.
It will. There you are.
All right, here it comes. So here's a classic example of a melted building. Okay, you can see that what they'll tell you is it's carved. And they just came in at this lump of something or other and carved out these very strange windows and doors and little niches and stuff like that. But then over here, they just happened to put in some brick. right? See right here, they just needed some brick. Okay.
Wow.
Right. But up as you go up here and you start to look at it, you start to realize, there's just something not right here. And then, you could see that this heat was chewing up the side of this building, coming up here. This window or doorway here is it's all janky and weird looking here. Now this side's very straight, but this side's all warped out where the heat was coming up it. And it travels right up the side of this and up and over it. And this will be called a pocket of survival. A pocket of survival here to where we could still tell that it was a building, but it got severely muffed up during the heat event.
Yeah. It looks popcorned as well, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. So this one here I wanted to show next. It says follow the melted steps. And one thing that you cannot tell me is carved is melted steps, because who the hell's carving melted steps? And you find melted steps everywhere you go, especially in Petra. But we'll look at a few examples here that I had Shapu put this together for me. Now, this one here in the center with the castle-like structure up here and the steps coming down, the excuse for this is, the narrative for this is that there was so many soldiers coming up and down these steps that they just got wore out like that. Okay?
Wow. Look at it.
Yeah, that's their narrative.
Man,
over here we have more melted steps. You can see that they're melted. They're just running right into each other. Nobody's carving melted steps.
That's mad, that one.
Yeah.
I never thought about the steps, but now you mention it, yeah. I've seen loads of examples of melted steps.
Mm-hmm. They're everywhere.
Wow.
They're very easy to find. Here you got some more melted steps right there.
Oh, look at that.
Yep.
What, why would you chisel up a mountain? It's just not going to happen, is it?
At some point, the material turned viscous and sludgy and kind of droopy.
Yep, just like this one right here in Egypt.
Whoa.
Those steps ran right down onto each other. You could see it spilling over to the next one, to the next one, to the next one.
Yeah.
Nobody carved it like that. And it's not from foot traffic. There's just no way. Because we would have that on our steps today if that was the case.
No, it looks exactly like you just said. That's brilliant.
It looks like it's a buildup. You would think foot traffic would wear it down, but that's actually above. That's extending.
Bloody good points that is, Bill.
Yeah.
Absolutely. These are all things that we need to keep in mind when we're looking at the historical narratives on these places. Like, look, this is Petra right here. This is part of Petra.
Oh, right.
These steps are melted.
Wow.
These are melted steps. And here, if you look right here on the edges of the step that didn't melt over here, it kind of looks like what you were showing on your beach, Martin, right here.
Yeah.
In here.
That's bonkers.
It is. It's crazy. It's crazy and amazing all at the same time. Now, this I wanted to show you guys real quick while we have it up is because I've done a lot of work on Vesuvius, and Vesuvius not actually being a volcano, but actually being a melted building of some sort. And this was one of the proofs that I had come up with, besides finding a statue head embedded in the side wall of Vesuvius, because, buildings had statues, not volcanoes. Volcanoes don't have statues.
Oh, my God.
So Jenn, here's the... Yes.
Go on, you carry on. I'll blow your mind now.
So here we have an ancient map of Italy. And over here, when I zoomed in, because we were looking at the Naples, Gulf of Salerno and Naples area right in here on the map. So I zoom in on it. And let me back off just a little. But in the same map, you can see here it says Vesuvius. You can see the V. And it's coming off of a building. There's no volcano here on this map.
You nailed it. After all this, right, I got a cursed book, which shows you, like, and I think Vesuvius as well, and shows you volcanoes as machines, and I'll show you what it does. I'm going to show you. You're not even going to believe it.
Okay, it's going to be great.
Until you mentioned it, I was like, poof, I know the machine. I got pictures. I just found it as well in an instant, like that.
Awesome.
Oh.
So here on this one, I zoomed in a little more and I changed the filter on it so we could try to bring out this supposed building here. Okay, so you clearly see the V for Vesuvius, and that's how they would label things. They would label it like this, coming off of whatever the thing is here. Does this look like a volcano to you? To me, it looks like some type of ziggurat or some kind of tower with another tower on top of it here. And here it looks like a doorway or an archway or something.
That's good work there, Jen.
Brilliant.
But it gets better. It gets so much better. Wait till I get to these other maps things that I have.
I love it that you love maps, Jen, and you find stuff on them. This is like fantastic that you study maps.
Yeah, they're really good proof, especially the early maps, because they don't have, like on the Montebano map, Vesuvius is not on there. Mount Fuji is not on Japan. If these are well-documented volcanoes that have been going off for, centuries and centuries, why aren't they on these maps?
You've got a bloody good point. I got them at Bonamonte on my wall.
Okay. Well, there you go. You can look for Vesuvius. You're not going to find it. You'll find Terra del Lavora. Terra del Lavora means it's a type of region right there.
And you got a lot of maps as well. You ain't got the Great Lakes don't exist.
No.
So maybe they're later mining, extractions, filter water, something like that.
And I'm on Lake Michigan, and it's a vast ocean. I mean, it's ocean size, but it wasn't
they're
there.
fresh water, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, how's that?
I mean, they're just massive. They're just massive.
Bonkers.
So these are pictures from John Levy's one of his latest videos when he's walking around with his dog in his area, and I screenshotted a few of them because he was pointing out that they look like melted buildings right here in his area, and I was totally agreeing with him. First off, right here we have what looks like an A-frame right here.
Yeah. And
there's an arch here. These look like windows, square windows on the other side. Let me go up a little here and back off of it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, look at that. The oblong there as well. There's two windows there and an arch on the top of a door.
And it looks like clearly. And then there's another hole over here, an entranceway to interior of this place. But the next picture is even better. Look at this. It looks like, this is one floor. This is another floor. There's another floor down here. Like this is 3 stories right here. But it's melted down.
Oh, it's badass juice, this, Jen.
And this is Utah?
Yeah, wherever he's located.
Yeah, I think he's just outside of Salt Lake.
That's mad.
Now this next one's a really good one too. Look at this. There's still entrances into this place. This is why we find cave systems everywhere and stuff. It's the interiors of these buildings.
Yeah.
And
many films show you that there's places inside of mountains anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked the times that he said that his dog, Chief, would warn him when he was getting ready to go into some of the entrances. Like the dog sent something, Chief sent something and told him not to go in there.
Wow.
Right.
The mountain smoke.
This is very, very Sodom and Gomorrah looking. This type of meltification here. And this is another one of his pictures. Again, it looks like it's multi-leveled for sure. There's definitely different levels to this thing. This looks like it was a main column here. Then there was maybe some windows over here or something. Let me see over here. Where did I want to go next? Okay, so I got to go this way with the pictures. I got a few more to show on this one. I can get it to go to the next picture without screwing up. Okay, here's another shot of that multi-level melted building. Let me get it from the top down with the water still running.
Where's that to, Jen? Is that a cenote or something, is it?
Oh gosh, here, wait. Let me see if I can go back to the other.
You mentioned Angel Falls on your show. I was looking into that recently. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. Angels Fall. Gosh, I forget the exact name on this thing. Let me see if I can go.
New Zealand, maybe?
No, it's
right
on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of
Samoa?
what it is. No, here, let me go over here. Here it is. Bala'a's Sinkhole and Waterfall. But so you just look that up and you'll find it. Bala'a's Sinkhole and Waterfall. You guys will find this picture. It'll take you right to the location. I'm so sorry I'm dropping the ball on this location here, but I have so many locations crammed in my head. I forget which one this one is.
Right.
I'm the same.
All right, so let me get back over here to the direction I want to go in these pictures. Okay, here's another supposed natural cave. I think this is in the same area as the one we just looked at, Bala'a. But again, you could see that this was the interior of a building.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all melted down. You can see
Looks
some
like-
archways there, windows, maybe
like
a
they-
Yeah, there's
walkway.
a coin there, like a right angle there on the left-hand side as well. A nice little bit of right angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
So I
Exactly.
like that picture a lot. To show
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
really cool.
And then let me go over here to this. Okay, so Old
Ooh.
Scary World, if anybody's familiar with that channel.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote
Yeah.
this. I thought it was pretty cool, especially when I'm getting bashed left and right for saying these things are melted structures. It's a natural formation. Crowley Lake, California, looks more like a melted building to me. And yes, I agree with him 100%. Shapu did a really good comparison with different types of archways and columned buildings, especially in India, that look a lot like these. And he had a comparison picture. I don't have that one here with me, but
Well, yeah,
I'll share
sure,
it.
columns. Yeah.
I'll get that to
Wow.
you another time. Let me go over here to this picture here. Okay, so this is a good example of total meltification and how regular old rock in your backyard could be melted bricks. Okay, on the right, we have Jagger Cave. This is on Mauna Loa in Hawaii. So on the right-hand side here, it's an open-air cave that supposedly this guy named Jagger, Mr. Jagger, came along and built this open-air cave so he can watch the volcano, okay? But apparently this volcano spits out bricks because all the rock that he used around here is all melted brick.
Right.
It's a hell of a
Yeah.
volcano.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can see that it goes all the way around to this side here. It also has steps that are right here. You can't really see them that good, but they're going down into this thing, and they are also melted. The reason I wanted to compare it to this supposed ancient site over here is because if you look right here, you can see that it was made of brick. Clearly, these are bricks, right? And
Yeah.
then you follow it down here to where it goes completely into dirt. Okay, like the bricks are just
Right.
gone. Okay,
Yeah.
they're cooked out, but yet there's this faint little spot here, line of
Yeah.
bricks still remaining,
Yeah,
right?
there's still a course there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That-
So that tells you that all of this was brick, but over here got really tore up bad. Over here, it's still holding its integrity a little bit, but this way, not so much. And then it comes back around to this side, and it's still holding up, but now it just looks like regular rock.
That's interesting. Would
These
that
rocks,
suggest that it came in from a certain direction?
yeah, it could be that when the heat came and it chewed all this out and just totally ripped it all up and stuff, here remained this little pocket of survival, you might say. Here, there's a brick on the ground. Right here, you can see this right-angled brick just laying here on the ground.
Yeah.
But I
Rather
wanted
than
to-
a plasma event and lightning, and as we talk about many, many times, could it be the sun that's the culprit?
Well, I think it was all involved. I think that for me, the way the X Factor event seems to have taken place is more of what we call a pole shift, Polaris shift.
With
So-
the electromagnetic model of the four angels, a pole flip is completely in the bounds, possibly.
Yeah. So I think
Yes,
Polaris.
magnetism. So
I think
Okay.
Polaris moves out of its place for a certain amount of time and it comes down almost to the level of where our sun and moon are.
Right.
This is why we see two suns in the sky. We hear a lot of this type of talk. We see ancient artwork with 2 and 3 suns in the sky. So I think there could be electromagnetic discharges coming from the sun, the moon, and Polaris, and also heat coming up from the bottom.
yeah,
It's really hard to escape this event.
yeah.
It's not easy.
Funny you mentioned Polaris. When I was up the north of England recently, I noticed that the sky looked further away.
Mhm.
Right in the north of England, I came further south where I am in Wales, and the sky like literally looks closer. But I noticed Polaris, and I was thinking, is Polaris looking closer now I'm further south? And I thought, no, it's looking like actually further away. So it was, and I'm trying to work out, like, how is
Right.
this perspective working?
And you had earlier we had mentioned other people that were influential, and we were talking about if the sun was a culprit. I wanted to give a shout out to Spartan Red channel and Dean over at Fervent Heat. I watched those guys, are the Eagle Eye crew. They are on this. They've been very influential in my awakening to this. They keep me company while I'm editing. I have another screen over here. While I'm editing, I'm just like, whoa. But Dean and James and Derek over at Spartan Red, their theory is that the sun is a culprit, and they call it the sun-kissed event, where something went haywire with the sun and it actually even dropped lower. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dean. I think Dean's in the chat, but I think the sun-kissed event is on the table for discussion. But those guys have been very influential.
If the Polaris, now see, we don't know how this works, right? We have to hypothesize and theorize and stuff, okay? Yeah. If Polaris is able to come down, if the black sun below our plane on the interior flip side of our plane is coming up, Polaris is coming down. You got to think of the torus field here, guys. Torus field. You got this, before. You've got a breathing and in and out that our torus field is doing.
There could be an entire world on the flip side of the torus of the inertia plane, right?
God,
we could be on the one side, they could be on the other, and we are the upside down ones, by the way.
Could be, you don't know. But if Polaris can come down, there's no question in my mind that the sun and moon could come down as well.
Yeah, of course.
You got Polaris coming. Yeah, I think there was a lot of factors to this X Factor event. A lot of things were at play.
Some Black Sabbath songs, Queen songs,
Soundgarden. How about this?
Yes,
I'll stop the world and melt with you.
Right.
Now, if you read the lyrics to I'll Stop the World and Melt with You, it's a love song, but in the middle of that song talks about a civilization that was here that is now long gone.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for that line to be in that.
They know. ELO turned to stone.
Right.
Stone on ELO. Rolling Stones. I think they all just know this.
Have you seen my Tom Petty video? Tom Petty knows for sure.
I love Tom Petty. I did.
Yeah. The Tavistock industry or institution has been busy seeding the music scene with dropping little truth hints.
They give all of the shittiest bands Tavistock lyrics, right? There was a radio came on by Shitty Take That yesterday, and it was never forget where you're coming from. And I'm literally listening to him. I'm like, oh my God, he's talking about resets. He's talking about arrivals. Holy fuck.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's like, there's no way he knows that. This guy's dense. So he's been giving it through the Tavistock.
I love those portions of your show where you bring up the song lyrics and you go through it, and it's spot on, man.
Oh,
spot
there's so many Talking Heads. They know, they just. I saw Tavistock. They're telling us through contemporary music, and it's all the same underlying theme of this place and the Cataclysm or the X Factor. It's called the X Factor for a fucking reason, fam.
What is this?
So here
Jen?
Here we have this first picture here is Herodium when they first discovered it, and we're starting to dig into it and realize that this whole mountain hill, is actually a building. It's not a natural occurring thing, and nobody went in and carved it out. It's the whole thing is the building, and they admit it here. And I was comparing it to the Tower of Babel, of course. Which we know was built up to the heavens. They were trying to reach the heavens with this huge tower. And then, of course, again, this is Herodium down here. King Herod supposedly built this. And there's tunnels and structures all down through here, all around the other side, even an amphitheater and everything. And then you have Vesuvius over here, which is very Tower of Babel-ish looking, just like Herodium is as well. And I found different things inside of looking at high-definition pictures on the interior wall crater of Vesuvius, very anomalous things in there. And it would seem they went in and bombed it in World War II.
Do you buy the narrative for Pompeii and Herculaneum, etc.?
No. As a matter of fact, those maps don't even show Herculaneum on it or Pompeii. Even when Vesuvius is on the map, you don't even see Pompeii and stuff. I don't think that Vesuvius had anything to do with Pompeii. I think it was all part of the X Factor event.
Agreed. I agree with that.
It didn't explode out with ash over top of it. You could see in Pompeii and Herculaneum, the heat was coming from the bottom, not the top. You know, it had to come from underneath.
Interesting.
And everything around it. Also, here's another one. This is all Herodium. Okay. So here's when they first found it, and they were starting to. They admit it. You can look up Herodium. Now, off in the distance. Off in the distance, it looks like every other flat top hill you have in your area. I have them all around here. So, I mean, are all these things buildings? Now, look, when they start digging into this thing and opening it up and stuff, look at this. The whole thing is a building. Yeah. Now, this is in Israel. Herodium is in Israel.
I think that's what first got me.
Never seen it.
It almost looks like a volcano, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but put a little smoke and fire at the top of that thing, you'll say it's a volcano.
If that one is, why ain't others?
Right.
Somebody got their watchy on, I think.
Okay, so this is a comparison that I had Chapu make up for me. So we have the 1578 map here up top, looking for Vesuvius. And it should be in this location where we have it circled, but it is not there. There's no volcano there.
Yeah, nope.
Plenty of fairy tale castles, though. You know, look at all those castles.
So right here, where it says Summa, this is where Vesuvius should be, and you can see it looks like some kind of castle-like structure, some kind of buildings here, maybe even a town of some sort right there where Vesuvius should be. Naples here, Salerno is right here, Vesuvius should be right here, and it is not. And then we go down here, over here to this map, 1725. Now we have Herculaneum. Herculaneum. See Herculaneum right here?
Yeah, that's right really interesting, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still no volcano here to be seen anywhere. And then we get over here to, what's the date? 1760. Now we have a volcano. Now we have a volcano here. See? So is this telling us when the X factor was? Was it in the mid-1700s? I think so. I think it might have been.
Let me show you something in a minute. After all you've done, I'll show you all this quickly. 2 seconds.
Okay.
It's this crazy sync.
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, only quickly.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let me stop screen sharing.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, that's fine. So, with this Kirster guy, right, the last great man with information, he showed volcanoes as devices. I shit you not. I'm not sure if he mentions Vesuvius in one. I think he does, you know. So he shows he actually shows in this book the Suez Canal in place 200 years before it was actually supposed to be dug. So that's supposed to be a volcano, and it's some sort of wind turbine machine. This is also what they call or regard a volcano. You got the Jesuit symbol there, so it's blowing air in. This spins around, pumps, creates a charge. But they're showing that volcanoes are types of devices. I was looking at them before. I was mind blown by it. I was thinking.
Yeah, I love that picture.
Yeah, there's one here. I think is this Vesuvius? It says machine. I mean, it's a machine for a volcano.
I mean, we think that. I mean, just to be. I mean, is he blowing out or is that going in?
Well, that's it. It's like they usually show breath. You think it's wind, but sometimes it means magnetism.
Yeah.
So check this out. 1700s, and you've got the Suez Canal there is in place. A and B by there. You see that?
Wow.
Yeah, and they say that it was built in the 1800s, and there's clear evidence on a map that it was there in place.
Yeah, the maps don't lie, guys. You got to look at the old maps. Start looking for all these different landmarks and stuff, and you're not going to find a lot of things that they say are naturally occurring, like these volcanoes. They're just not on the maps. Or you'll find volcanoes
that there is evidence that the volcanoes could be gadgets. Then, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, I think so. See,
there you are. You're up, Jen.
Oh, I put the screen share back up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the next picture here. So this is Diamond Head Crater in Hawaii, Diamond Head. And I thought it was really interesting at first. It kind of looks like, maybe like some part of a tree or something, it kind of has a tree kind of look. And then, I looked further into it, but far off, it could look like a tree. I could see how people could say that. Yeah. But more investigation into this, you find out that this thing has structure all over it and through the side walls of it. Okay. They have tunnel systems going through the walls and everything. It's pretty amazing if you watch anybody hike up to this thing and where they go and everything that they're passing. So what could these have been? Could these have been like
Arizona Crater is a bit like that. You see, Arizona Crater is a lot like that. And I've seen antiquity on the lip or on the outside of Arizona Crater. I posted about it years and years ago.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that crater one of these days soon, but I think it might have been something like this. These are massive nuclear cooling towers.
Love it.
Some of the largest in the world. These ones are the largest in the world's highest cooling towers. Now look at that.
Cooling towers. They use sound to cool acoustics.
Interesting.
Then you take one of these and melt them down. Could it very well look like something like this?
Yeah.
I don't know. It could.
On itself as well, melted.
Some type of power plant of some sort, maybe, or something like this. I mean, just comparing it to the things that we build today. Of course, theirs was on a massive scale that we can't even comprehend. But if there was larger people, there had to have been larger buildings and larger vegetation. 100%. So here we're back in Petra. And as you can see here, everything's melted. There's no doubt about it. You can see the brick layers, the lines. You can see how it was all viscous. You can see how these doorways are getting out of shape because the pressure of the building crushing down on itself. Everything's starting to get wonky and weird looking. They didn't carve it like that. They weren't drunk and drank too much wine when they carved this thing. It's melted. And then I have the steps again there. We've seen those. Okay, so here's a little comparison of the buildings we use today and some melted buildings. So up top here, we have a hotel. I think this one's in Miami. And I was comparing it to this melted site here, which the narrative on this site is that, the indigenous people come along and carve out these little niches to bury people in. They're always temples or tombs because that's the archaeological narrative. They're either temples or tombs. And I thought it looked very much kind of like this curved hotel over here.
Yeah.
Down here, we have this melted building right here, which looks like it has windows and balconies on it.
Well, besides Spain.
Yeah, wow. So there's that. And then this is what we build today. They're almost virtually the same, It's amazing once you have new eyes and you see this stuff.
Wow.
Okay, so I think that's it for those pictures.
Very juicy.
I have this site that I like to share for beginners to try to introduce people to melted buildings because they have extraordinary pictures on here, very high definition. And this is Petra. You can see here in this picture that this thing was melting like wax. I think of the Bible verse where it says God melted the earth like wax. This is melted like wax, guys. This is not a mountain that people went up and carved stuff in. This was a building and it melted. And here you can see an opening with a window. And right here in the corner, you could still make out the brick really, really well right here.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing.
And also over here, there's another little swirly pocket of survival right through here. Even though you can see it so well throughout, right here, you can really see it going up. Now see here, over here, where you could barely make the brick out, but there's a coating over it. That's that facading that's melted down over it, but it's so thin that you could start to make out the brick patterns under it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that facading could be 3-4 inches thick, but when it's melting down and away from everything, it may only leave us a very thin layer of that molding or whatever it was coating over it. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
That's what it looks like. Man, that is so drippy. Look at that.
It is total dripification. I love it.
That's incredible, that one.
Okay.
It looks
So
so
here we
smooth.
have, yeah, we have another example of this type of ice cream melt effect here, where it's just running down itself, dripping down over itself, getting all warped out, just like you would see ice cream melt in your dish.
That's mental. That's brilliant. Oh,
Yeah.
is that
So
wrong
this is
on the Sphinx?
Yes. This is all
They say
questionable.
water damage. Yeah.
They
I know,
say water did it.
damage. Yeah.
But we
I mean,
can't believe that. We cannot believe the archaeology
Well, yeah,
narrative.
Graham Hancock tells you it's definitely not true. Okay?
Look on the left. I mean, that's just all bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I did believe at one time this was water. Okay, in the distant past, this whole place was, watery, like a rainforest or something, and it got a lot of water. Well, then why doesn't everything else have the same damage right here?
Good
You
point.
know, it's just in this enclosure here.
Yeah.
the
Not
way it is
statue
here.
itself, though, which shows the bricks
Right.
there on the left-hand side of the Sphinx.
Right.
Apple.
So in this
Whoa.
picture here, we're looking at the interior side view of a melted building. You're seeing corridors and walkways and windows here. They're closing up on themselves seemingly from the inside out. If this was on the outside, we would call it a rock curtain coming down over everything. But here you can see it's closed up on the interior. The building's already closed up on itself, crushing down on itself. And the exterior is starting to close up too, but the heat got taken away. So where you would see these little apertures of windows, doorways, and maybe columns and stuff, behind it, there's a wall. And that's because the building's already closed up
See
on
that wall
itself.
smooth behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's mad.
exactly.
Wow.
Okay, again here, we're looking at the
Look at this
interior of a
ad.
melted building. They just say that these are natural cave systems here in this area, but this is complete meltification that took place here. This was something else before. It was a building of some sort. It had a purpose, a functionality on the grid system, and now it's just melted.
100.
Right here, it's all melted.
Whoa. Is that Petra again?
Yeah, that one was Petra too. And then now this is an example of that fort in Russia that had the napalm accident in it. Or, they say it was a napalm-like substance. They never tell you what the substance was. They say it's napalm-like substance. And this is where you can really see proof of that bricks can melt under high temperatures, extremely high temperatures. You can see that it was melting down, dripping down. Also here you can see it hanging off the ceiling, like what we would call stalactites. Okay, it's just drippy brick and mortar snot coming out, dripping down. But the interesting thing is that when the heat was taken away, this stuff was still dripping, and it solidified as it was dripping.
Looking like a stalagmite.
Yes.
Hanging from the top.
Now, this right here, I love this picture. This is also in the same Russian fort, but it's very similar to what you would see in the caldera rim of Vesuvius. This blocking pattern all the way across, and you'll see also some of the mortar lines would have crystallized to quartz crystal. But this is a really good example here. Now, I don't buy the narrative to this fort. You know, they say it happened back in the 70s. This is some island out in the water in Russia where they would hold all this stuff. They could just give us that narrative and say that that's why this looks like this. To me, this place definitely got X-factored. But some people want to buy the historical lie. That's fine, whatever. Clearly the brick is melted, though. And in this picture, most interestingly enough, is that no matter how melted it is, you still see the horizontal parallel running lines everywhere.
That is amazing. That is a brilliant shot. Wow.
Yes. So even though it's muffed up and really melted and stuff, you could still make out the brick pattern. And we're seeing that throughout the realm itself.
Whoa.
It's right there.
It's right there. It's always been right there. Now look at this. Again, this is the same location. This brick is melted as fuck. Okay.
Oh,
It's just,
wow.
it's nuts. And it's solidified mid-melt. It stayed like this. It hardened up. The heat was taken away somehow, and it just stayed. So that's pretty amazing.
What temperatures, man, are we talking? This is incredible temperature.
Well over 5,000 degrees, I feel.
It's had to be. They baked these at 1,200.
Yeah. So here's an interesting picture, because you can see where some of the brick has melted out of its location, yet the parallel running lines still remain. And we see this pattern everywhere. They call them sedimentary layers. But even though the brick has melted away, you can see some brick underneath where the old brick was, because layers and layers of brick.
Yeah.
And you still see
lines, just good brickwork.
Perfect.
And here you can see within the archway, it was dripping. When it's solidified, it was actually dripping down and hanging down. But then the heat was taken away, and it hardened up.
Amazing. That is amazing. Look at that. Wow.
So here on this wall, you can see that the brick was so cooked out, it's running down. You can see some layers under this layer of brick that's all cooked out. You can see a layer popping out underneath of it, because these star forts and stuff have layers upon layers upon layers of brick. It's not just one wall of brick. It's like 10 feet thick of brick.
No shit.
So here you can see these lines not running horizontal, but now they look like they're running vertical. And I call these heat striations. A lot of times when you see this in underground systems, they'll say they're pickaxe marks, but they're actually heat striations from the meltification of what's taking place. It gets to a level of heat where it looks like striations now. See it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they might say they sketched it out with a tool in their narrative. Yeah.
Yep.
They've got so many wacky stories on these things, you know?
Well, they got to explain it somehow, but it's always like, Jenn, you said, in like remote places or places you can never verify any of it anyway. Like Chernobyl, for example.
Yep. Can't go there.
Can't go there.
Oh yeah, but yet there's animals and plant life and birds and everything in Chernobyl. If you look at
no problem.
Oh yeah,
no
problem. People are allowed there for some reason.
Yeah.
Again, here we have another melted building.
Melted.
Somebody probably did find something or something that they couldn't hide anymore, and they had to get people out of that location because there's no reason why people can't live there. The whole nuclear thing is a lie anyway.
And it's in the Ukraine, and the Russians just went in the Ukraine. When it's all tied in.
Yeah. They like to attack places that are iconic from the old world. I know, like a few years back, they went into Odessa.
Yeah, they took the Crimea.
Yeah.
That is important to them because it's an important seaport.
Yes.
To them. And Sebastopol.
Sebastopol, that was the word I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm. Massive star.
Okay, so this picture here, I really like this picture because here you have a nice pocket of survival. You have the columns. They held out pretty good. This whole thing, it's not carved. It's part of the building. They would like to make you think it's carved, but it's not. We can see all the stuff up here running down everything, running over everything. It's got some kind of grayish black material mixed in with it that's running down over everything too. You can see it here. Now, this is up here on this level here, but this right here is ground level. So what happened at ground level that these doors are all janky and weird, the windows are all weird and janky, but up here survived? It's because the heat's coming up from the bottom. The pressure of this whole thing, I don't know how this little pocket of survival survived right here. But this whole thing's crushing down on itself, which is making the bottom level get all weird and out of shape. So that was a really
good detective work, Jenn. That's brilliant deduction.
Because that was a big question for me. It was like, how does some of it, early on, it was like, how does it stay perfectly level if it went through an X Factor event? And I think Jenn explained it pretty well that one time. It was some sort of energy with the heat, something directing. You know how they put sand on a metal plate and turn up the vibration and it takes a form? The cymatics, I think that was involved with the heat application. That's why you get these perfectly flat. I don't know.
That would make sense, Bill. That would make perfect sense, actually.
Yeah.
Here's an example of these heat striations here on this part. So you can see, make out the brick line pattern going horizontal across. But here you see things that look like what we would call pickaxe marks. And these are heat striations. They tell us all, like in Cappadocia, you'll see a lot of these heat striations. They'll say, oh, they carved it out. It's pickaxe marks. No. The ground level has melted away. So this floor here is melting down into the ground. This is why these doorways are so low to the ground here. You have melted steps right here leading up to this location that just drop off to nothing. These are melted steps. And I think there's some more melted steps up here. Yes, there is. Over this way, coming up here, you can see the steps are melted. They're kind of overlapping onto each other and coming up here. This whole thing was a building, guys. It's not carved. And over on this side, of course, you can see the complete meltification here. It's dripping down over itself and just becoming one clumped up large piece where you can't even make out a brick pattern anymore.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, Petra is really the way to go if you want to start off showing, introducing somebody to this X Factor event. Now, they had exterior moldings over the brick, and here, this is what I think we're seeing here. This lentil and arch A-frame right here would have been the molding, and underneath it, where you see the layering, is the brick. So here we can see the molding actually running down over itself here. See here how it pulled up here and running down over stuff? That's melted, guys. It's not carved like that. Nobody's carving melted pillars and melted steps.
Well, that's really good.
And then, of course, here you could see that everything was melting and dripping over itself. They make, tourism out of these places now. There's a whole geological narrative that goes with it. And if anything looks man-made, they say it's carved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like these buildings here.
Now. See?
Look how flat it is.
Oh, man, they're just perfectly, horizontal lines.
These buildings were much taller. Much taller than what we're seeing now. We're seeing the bare minimum melted down version of that.
Yeah. God, who even knows how deep?
You know those fantasy those fantasy artworks of the massive castles, like almost steampunk kind of thing. I think that's based on, some of that's got to be based on, yeah.
I think so for sure.
This looks like it had columns going around it, maybe. Maybe round portico windows. You see a few round spots here, apertures of old openings, things closing up on themselves and stuff here. It looks like there was some kind of circular opening here. Maybe had tech on top. But this is melted down like ice cream. When your ice cream's in its bowl and it's melting away, it looks nothing like it did when you first put it in the bowl. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this looks like melted ice cream to me. And it looks like it even slumped over on itself here, like coming this way. This whole big piece here, like slumped in on itself.
That's some heat.
But look at this, guys. Look at this one here.
That's a pyramid, isn't it?
It looks like a melted pyramid in Petra, and it has a right angle cutaway right here. But yes, to me, it looks very pyramidal.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Look how the color of the ground changes. There's a line from orange to green right there.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. In the distance.
What is in the background there?
I don't know.
It's the red brick has melted into the fine little dust and bricklets at the bottom, and
that's all that is. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the rest of Georgia is all green. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. This piece here that's in the middle has melted down. It's barely nothing there. So all this is cooked out building that everybody's walking over here. So all this is the interior layers of whatever this building was. You see what I'm saying? There was a whole exterior. It was much higher. It probably came out further, but all that's melted away.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm not sure what this picture is. There's some drill holes here. So I'm just going to skip over that. But here it looks like a whole little neighborhood that got melted. You can see windows and doors and apertures that look like they're closing up on themselves here. You can see here this stuff melting over and coming down. Like right here, it's melting over and coming down that way. But I think these were all like little windows and doors. Like this might have been a massive spot where people lived. Like an apartment complex of some sort. Large.
Yeah, apartment block. Yeah.
Yeah. kind of like what you see in Turkey and Cappadocia, just like this right here. These are massive buildings. Nobody carved this stuff.
No.
Nobody's carving melted steps. So they'll stick a ladder there, and they'll put some rudimentary Stone Age kind of thing, narrative to it, and then it's like, oh, okay, Fred Flintstone, and then you move on down the road. But no, we start to see that this was a building. You can make out, windows and more.
Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, more what I want to say, like a modern kind of look to it.
See them holes there? You see them holes on it?
Mm-hmm.
Underneath the windows, and there's some people, like, you get them in old walls, they call them putlock holes, and they're like for joists or for floors coming outwardly.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Where you see the beam of wood extending out.
So some people might say this is a mountain that was carved out, but I say that this is a building that has been melted and cooked.
That looks like a building.
Yeah, this looks like any building on any street in any city.
There's ones in Tokyo that look like that today, I'm sure, or like in Hong Kong somewhere.
Yeah.
Whoa.
These things make so much more sense when you start to realize there was an extreme heat event and things melted. Then this type of stuff makes complete sense. The narrative that people came in and carved this stuff out never made sense to me. It just doesn't look like it was carved. It looks like it was.
It's just no. It's stupid anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of these places are remote anyway, supposed to be, aren't they? Oh, look at that.
Like who's climbing way up here to carve this little thing out? What? So they can bury their aunt and uncle up there? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean,
Good point.
I think we know this. I think we know this as children. Like, things as children are incredibly intelligent and intuitive. Like, how to question things, but it's just beaten out of us from a young age. We're just so conditioned to hear illogical answers, and the years are too vast to even comprehend, and we just move on to being kids. But in the process, we've just been fully indoctrinated to this system that, just deters people from looking into stuff, and, doesn't want people asking questions. But
they got no imagination. I love to imagine how this world would look.
Yeah.
And I think, I sort of remember it. I got a dream where I was on this, like, I had it when I was a teenager, but I was on this massive plinth, and it was of a ginormous building, and we were all standing up on there. There was loads of people. We were all waiting for a wave, although in that dream no wave arrived. But I can remember that I looked down, and it was like the highest wall you've ever seen in your life. It was on, like, really high up on a valley, and these buildings were that big. And I remember that dream. I was thinking, so I've had the massive building dream.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, if we're just remembering how this world was.
I think we do.
Predecessors, or it was like before. Look at it.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
There's way more to this building. What's here on the ground level is the rest of it all melted out and away. These were probably the middle floors. These would be the middle floors. This would be the top would have been way higher. It's all crushed down. You can see how it's closed up over here. All these openings down here are going to flatten out and crush out and close up just like up here did. You see what I'm saying?
They all Constantina down, wouldn't they?
This is why you don't see openings as much on the exteriors of these buildings, because they flatten out like pancake on themselves.
And the top ones are more crushed, do you reckon?
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can make out little openings.
Yeah, that's why you can see that. Yeah. And then you can see them as you get further down. Yeah.
No, we found Fred Flintstone's house. It's right here.
Wilma.
Yeah.
That looks like a little house that melted, What's that little niche over there is where the fridge was?
Obi-Wan Kenobi's going to get out of there now. It looks like one of those.
And it looks like it goes underground. There's an opening down here. So there's an entranceway here, it looks like, below.
Yeah. The roundness to those two little roundness things, that reminds me of that 3D architectural printing that I found from 100 years ago. Those little structures.
The same sort of buildings, that domey thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's one down here that looks like that, a little further down. Now, this is I think this is in England. I'm not sure, but it's a sandstone, supposedly sandstone carved houses. Again, we start to see this black drippy stuff here, which I think is part of roofing on these buildings because we see it everywhere.
Yeah.
There you can make out some brick by the doorway there, but this is a melted building as well. It looks like they came in and might have tried to refurbish it a little and use it again, just like they do in Turkey with a lot of those places. But look at this. This looks like that 3D printed stuff we were talking about too. See how it's a dome? Yeah. It goes all the way over, and it's just, it's so crazy.
The steps on it looks like something from Puma Punko. It's space age.
Yeah.
Man. What the hell's going on with that?
And it's just in the middle of the woods. I don't know the location on this one. It won't convert to English for me. But here's an example of a coastline here where we're in a bay or a harbor, and this is part of the old building here. You can see all the arches. They've went in and reused it. But a regular person with regular eyes would think this is just part of the landscape, part of the natural coastline, and they just happen to use this like this. But the coastline is the building. It goes down here all the way around to this side even and further down. So we have to look at even coastlines and continents themselves as being possibly buildings.
Dean,
like here we have
Dean at Fervent Heat. He's the tip of the spearhead on investigating below water. He's pulled up some really incredible shots of below water melted buildings.
Absolutely.
Ooh. Yeah.
Absolutely. Big shout out to the Eagle Eye crew.
Yep.
Big shout out to everyone. 600 just short of watching. I want to welcome you all on a beautiful,
yes, welcome everybody.
Lovely Wednesday night. We're here with the Meltologist experts. Having our Brian's blown. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you can see that there was more. It's crushed down on itself up here. The narrative
they also exhibit that, don't they? That crushing thing.
Oh yeah. Now it says in the Bible that that when God melted things, that there was 1/3 of some of these structures still left to remind us. So we're reminded of what happened before.
Yeah, man.
And to not let it happen again. But see, we're given a geological and archaeological narrative over this stuff, so we never see what it actually was, and we're never reminded of what happened before. And guess what? It could happen again.
Yeah, man. Yeah. This place is gone to shit. Sodom and Gomorrah on toast. This place is.
Yeah, I don't think Sodom and Gomorrah was a isolated incident. I think it happened in way more locations. Now this one's a really good one because it gives you an example of the things that we see underwater, like this crazy heat expansion that's taken place here over here. If this was underwater, they would say it was some kind of coral reef or something.
They look like garage doors.
Yeah, isn't it weird? It's so crazy.
I've never seen that. That is crazy. Whoa.
Yeah. Really strange.
Heat.
Now this here, just imagine this underwater and you're swimming up to it and there's all kinds of things going. This looks just like the stuff you see underwater.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Sponge.
It's amazing. And then here's a whole wall of it. Okay, somebody would say, well, this is just some kind of ridge line of mountain ridge line stuff or whatever. But no, this whole thing was a building. You could still see some windows and door shapes. Yeah. You can see some squares here, what looks like, doorways and other windows and stuff. And it got hit really hard. Whatever it was, it's all muffed up. It was tore up from the floor up, I like to say.
That's a good one.
That's brilliant.
And this site goes on and on and on. I'll try to drop the link in the chat here, but it's an amazing site to show this type of evidence here. Again, this is extreme heat, extreme heat taking place here to create that.
Mental.
And it's everywhere you go. You can see how it was starting to rock curtain over itself here. Like this part here was coming down over this stuff. If it would have kept melting, all this would have probably been covered up by this curtain of melt that's coming over it.
Yeah. Do you reckon it stopped in an instant when the water came in, covered it, and it had like just like a ocean cooling?
Quickly
Yeah,
cooling,
I think it all just cooled. Yeah. So here's a really good example of something that's made out of brick. Now you're like, oh, hell, it's not melted. What are you talking about? Well, right here in the very front, you could see that this was melting all over itself right here. It's separating. It's creating those expansion holes like we just seen 2 pictures ago on that other site here. You can see that this whole section here is melting down, but over here is just fine. And over here, again, this was brick. It's melting, and you can see the brick layers right here.
Yeah.
Yep, we see them everywhere.
Man, oh man.
So I have a lot of evidence to prove this meltification, even though people want to say I'm crazy. It's all right here.
A lot of it on there. Wow, so much out there.
And look at this thing right here. You could see what was an A-frame right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can see what looks like this was like some kind of dome with a conical roof on top here. You can see a window and door over here. I mean, who's going up carving this stuff? Are you kidding me?
Whoa. That's just a blob, isn't it? But I see the roof. Yeah, man. They light it up at night.
Let me scroll down here just a little, this site here. Now, this is a site that a lot of people show. I love this site because you can see that this is a melted building. First off, right here in the front, we have little melted steps going up here that lead up to this. You can see them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are melted. All this is melted. But as you get up here, you can start to see those, what we see in cathedrals and stuff, and in these archways, like the Arch of Triumph has these indentations in them. It almost looks like speakers.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and all this around here is melted. All of this is melted down. And in the next picture, you'll see the whole area in its entirety. Let me scroll out a little here.
Man, oh man, oh man.
You can see how it was all this was all structure, and it's all melted down. It always has the same look, no matter where you go. You can go to Croatia, you can go to India, you can go to England. It doesn't matter, wherever you find this stuff, it always looks like, oh, they've all carved it the same. Give me a break. They're all drunk when they're carving this stuff. They carve weird.
They're all equally as shit. Yeah.
So here you can see it just looks like a big lump of stuff. All this here in the front is all melted as well. And what is it melted over? What's underneath all this stuff? Because when it melts down, it's melting down and flowing out and covering other stuff.
Still looks like a building, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it also looks melted too. But the thing is like, just like we didn't see flat Earth, I flew in a plane. I can't tell you how many times before I saw flat Earth. And I never noticed. I never noticed that it was flat when I look out the window. I mean, I never thought it was curved, but I never noticed it was flat either until the blinder was taken off. And just like this, it's like once you see it, you know what you're looking at now. And that's melted as fuck. There's no two ways about it. So here you can see the interior on the opposite side of the same site up here. We're going to the opposite side. You can see it's got chambers that go underground. Of course it does, because this was a building. It has levels to it. And this site just goes on and on with amazing. Okay, here you go. Here's some more melted steps. Who's carving melted steps? You got melted steps over here in the corner. You slide over this way. There's more melted steps here. Who's carving melted steps?
Oh,
nobody has an answer for it. So here you can see that whatever all this was in the front here, it's all melted away and lapping over itself, kind of like, a flow of like water or something. And up here, this part here may have been way, way, way up higher. It's just come down and melted down to this point here where we're seeing just this pocket of survival here and maybe a little over here. Yeah.
It's the bottom bit, and everything's Constantina down and sludged down on top of it and run down it. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. This whole area was a building. Now, they probably came in later and put this church on top of it to hide some stuff or to take your eye away from all this meltification. I don't know. But, yeah, it's everywhere you go. Everywhere.
history on top, and I bet they always got ways in. Look at that Monte Cassino, you know, that they bombed in the war. When I looked into it, Monte Cassino, not one of the Germans that were in Monte Cassino got affected because they all went into the massive tunnel system that was inside the mountain. Yeah, underneath. Yeah, so like none of them got even killed, none of them. So they're all in. It's like ancient, supposed to be. So I bet they're all like that. And Monte Cassino's a big mountain as well. And they completely destroyed that.
So that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jen. Yay, man.
Thank you.
Meltage. So we have a 600 watching. Thank you all for popping by. Let me just give you a couple of shouts. So there's Hippie Shake. She's a lovely lady. She's linking my book page.
Hi,
I was looking at that name today on side of a bus. Yeah, Lovell, right? I was looking at the name Lovell, and I was thinking, it's Love E-L, you know, like L. So Love E-L, Lovell. So
Lovell.
I pick apart all the words I do.
It's like Baroque. You know, they say this is Baroque architecture. It's Baroque because it's Baroque. It don't work anymore. You know? Baroque. Why would they call it Baroque? I mean, come on.
Indeed, Steve, they just repurpose. They come back. Every time, each people that come back. And you can see their little bit of an effect. You can see the transitions in stone. You can see when they come in later. Just moved in. They do it with all of it. Hi, Liddy. Hi, Steph. Hi, everybody. Boston Ray Mudflood there, look.
Ray.
Hey, Ray.
I was wondering if I should just build a building out of Lego and then flamethrower it. To see the effects. Hi, Harati. So welcome all. Tainted Truther. Truther Taintman. Hi, guys. And Crazyman. Now, welcome all. Thank you. I think it's you, Bill. Hi.
All right. Hey.
This is so exciting. Do you mind if I just leave the room a sec? I'm coming straight back.
No.
Let me take a second.
Yeah. Feel free.
Well, I could feel free in this place.
All right. So I think I got, how are we looking here? Good?
Looks good.
Okay. Well, I've been a filmmaker over the past year and a half, and I got really influenced by the old world. And, so while I would be collecting photographs from back in the 1800s, I would come across all sorts of scenes from, and these pictures are primarily from the Western United States. Back in the 1800s, after some type of event, and the entire west of the United States is, there's nobody there. Everybody's gone, and they needed to repopulate. So they were sending people west, and along the way, they would have to go through, the Rocky Mountains, and this stuff started getting documented, back in the early 1800s. And even back then, I really like this stuff because of the resolution of the cameras back then were incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah. And this might be a repeat for some that saw Jen and I, the part 1 and 2, but for Martin's viewers, my focus initially was in the old world, and that's what made me get into the presentation, was how was I going to tie it into what I do, when I'm editing. And so I thought, hey, you know what, let's put something together. So you start to see these structures as the people were heading west. And you just, once you get an eye for it, I mean, this picture to me just screams structure, especially on the right. When you really mag in on it, you start to notice, features, and I'm just kind of warming up with some of these.
What's the date on these? Because the definition's nuts.
Yeah, this is I labeled this one the head of Canyon del Shelly, looking past walls that rise 1,200 feet above the canyon floor, Arizona, 1873.
Wow.
Yeah. And just for fun, sometimes I go in, and about there we start to lose, clarity. So anything back out here, we can start to pick apart stuff. so like I mentioned, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a big campaign, and it was called Go West. And so what they were doing is they needed people to repopulate the West. And so you get just a whole mass of the population on the East who probably don't have deep roots there because they've been reintroduced to a new land. So people are willing to pack up and leave. And this is about the same time that the Model T was introduced, and it was mass produced on such a level that even somebody without a lot of money could get one of these things, right? So people were just jumping on these things and heading west. But that got me wondering, okay, so you've built the car, but who's building the roads? Is a Model T gonna make it through the Rocky Mountains without roads?
And you also said that this picture is before the Model T, didn't you?
Yeah, this one is called Tourists Drive the Car on a Dirt Road Along Yellowstone River, 1899 is what it's labeled if you find it on the internet. And I thought, wait a minute, the Model T wasn't invented or introduced until the mid-1920s. I think it was in the noughts, the zero, the all right. 05, 06, 07. But that seems kind of unusual because, I thought that was unusual because, as soon as they introduced the Model T, then all of a sudden we have all these different kinds of cars all ready to go. And it's like, I thought everybody was building buildings, but...
yeah, you got a good point. You're onto something there.
Yeah. And you follow this to grade this road is a massive undertaking. I know we had... And I think Jenn spotted another car down here the last time, but it gets kind of blurry. The railroads had been through here, which is also a monumental feat.
I'm not sure I buy that. The Chinese meeting one way, they're going through the other, shake hands when they met in the middle. And then you got to navigate the Rockies. The
Rockies is massive. Like, say you've got a Model T, and then you're presented with a scene like this. Oops. You got to get your car through there somehow, right? And somehow, amazingly, they have these cars and these roads that can make it through there. But this is your first introduction to the rangers. These are the park rangers. They get introduced during this time period as, I think they needed to have people positioned along the way to explain things to people who were just mind blown by what they were seeing.
Somebody made a very good point here just now. Let me scroll back here because we should have mentioned this before. Gas stations. Where are all the gas stations?
Yeah.
Cars? They had to have electric cars.
Yeah.
But then again, how are you charging up your electric car? These are all valid questions,
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. The infrastructure wasn't there when everything was introduced, but all of a sudden everything is built out and the infrastructure is ready to rock and roll, ahead of the invention.
In a heartbeat. From Victorian world to all of these roads, everything's there. The cities get the undergrounds, massive highways.
Right.
States. It's just like, where the hell did all of this just come from? It's just
this one's labeled View of the White House, Ancestral Pueblo Native American Anasazi Ruins.
Yeah. This is Sedona.
It says Canyon de Shelly. It's Arizona, 1873. The cliff dwellings were built by the Anasazi more than 500 years earlier. At the bottom, men stand and pose on a cliff.
Yeah, they're not in teepees, are they? They're in brick buildings.
Right. I couldn't. And
there's all that black lines coming down. That's that black drippy stuff we keep talking about that we see in a lot of these national parks. This black stuff that's running down the cliff faces and stuff. To me, it looks like some kind of tar roofing.
Perfectly straight lines,
That's amazing.
Yeah. Where did that thing go?
Beautiful.
Now, they said there were some guys down here. I never was able to find the guys. They said there was people down at the bottom posing on a cliff to get some kind of scale, but I just wasn't able to spot them.
Okay, for perspective.
Yeah, for perspective.
Oh, wait, there they are. Is that
You
two
see
guys
'em?
right there?
Over here on the left.
Yeah, just above your arrow on the
Okay.
top. Is that two guys
Oh,
there?
it is.
Okay.
It's two fellas. Yeah.
Oh, you see them. Okay.
Yeah, they sat on top of this building thing here.
But look how massive that is. I mean,
That
that's
is pretty damn big. Yeah.
Then we move to. I should get these squared away. Okay. Back it out a little bit.
Oh, this is the picture we were showing.
Why is it doing this? It's messing with me here. Okay. Tourists ride the Glacier Point Trail in Yosemite, 1901. They're decked out. They looks like they're not mountain climbing. They're horseback riding. It seems appropriate. But we get to the top of the mountain, and there is water gushing out of the top of the mountain. We're already as high as we can go up. There's nothing above it. Where's this water coming from? And then somebody in the chat the other night brought up a picture of it today, and it's still gushing out. And I found that it. Yeah, go ahead.
I brought the picture up.
Oh,
Remember we looked at the picture up today,
Yeah.
and it looks identical to that flow. I mean, it's still flowing.
And even in times of drought, they said, you would think that it would diminish after a while, but no, it just continues to pour out. But where you're already at the top of the mountain, I guess that's kind of what intrigued me is, did I go the wrong way?
Where the hell's water coming from?
Yeah.
Is there a pipe there broken or something, Frank?
Yeah. Like a plumbing system.
Yeah.
Mountains or fountains.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another good one. And let's see.
Really the same word. Probably something in there.
And then this is another checkpoint along the way. The Gateway Arch at Yellowstone, 1900.
Ah.
I mean, why would you? I mean, that just seems kind of
a lot of effort out in the middle of Yellowstone to knock up an arch like that.
Right.
Yeah. And you could see that the bricks are starting to get popcorn and ballooned out in all these locations. Now the arch looks really good. Arches hold up really well in this X Factor event. But are you really going to build your arch like this with all these different types of blocks popping out?
Yeah.
And look at the masonry is quite big. That guy's head, How did they have masons and to knock this stuff up so far west? Anyway, it just makes
it's.
Wow.
So the building in the background is what you would expect to see, that type of level of building. But this is pre-X Factor stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it probably goes way underground. I think there's probably way more to this arch structure thing here below ground as well.
And then we move over to El Morro National Monument. This is the south side of Inscription Rock is what they're calling this. If I can get it over here. The detail is, I mean, this old photography is just really, really mind-blowing. You can...
It is. They get worse as time goes on.
It seems like
in the 1970s, it's atrocious.
I mean, you get to see some. I mean, you do start to get some formations, and it would just be amazing to walk around in there, and see what got left behind.
It looks massive.
Headlands north of the Colorado Plateau in 1872. But these perfectly straight lines, that was a big one for me. It's like, well, I mean...
First photographs of these places, surely.
Yes, this is the first documentation of post-X Factor. Maybe these are like reconnaissance units or scouting parties that had to go out and...
Document this stuff.
That would make a lot of sense.
Document. And then they would go first, and then the people who were... pulling up their routes out east and heading west. So they were, there was, we'll call them guides or, the disinformation agents in place when they first, the mass of the population started arriving. Yep. This is a geological surveyor explores the lower basin of Mammoth Hot Springs in Yellowstone in 1870. The perfectly flatness. How does that? How do they explain that? It's just that seems a little bit much. It seems
step-like, isn't it?
Very, very step-like. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. What a shot.
It just like flowed right over.
Yeah, that shows meltage well, that one.
The people, during this time, they, everybody seems to be outfitted well, like they're, prepared to do some hiking or, some, but then...
Where did they buy it all? They procured on the way or buy it like mountaineers are us? Where did they get this stuff together?
Yeah.
And it's probably really dangerous. If you break a leg out in this wilderness, you're probably going to die of gangrene. You ain't got nothing going on.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's the isolation. This one is a man stands behind what they call the pulpit terrace, another feature at Mammoth Hot Springs. But this is just that flow would come over the top and just start dripping down the sides. But then in the background... we get...
Maybe it was a pulpit and he's taking a piss.
I think we do have to kind of be conscious of the words that they use to describe things, because a lot of times that's what it was originally, and that was probably a pulpit. Now I'm
the Giant's Causeway.
Right. Now I'm going to bring it around to. I'm originally from Nebraska. And so I wanted to represent my home state well. And out in western Nebraska, you find this feature called Chimney Rock. And, there's a lot of different theories on what it was and where it came from. But they were doing all sorts of stuff to this thing. I think this is a person down here, right in the middle towards the screen. A man standing, possibly.
Oh, that black line there in the middle of the picture. I think
that was too close. Yeah, right in this here.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, I can see him. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, this reminds me of the Golden Stupa in India.
Yeah, that shape, right? That conical.
If you were able to bring up the Golden Stupa in India, you would see it's almost identical.
It's got that same thing on top, like a sort of thing that goes like that.
And now remember this. Remember how high it goes here, because as time goes by, as we come into more modern pictures, it is not as tall. Parts of it have fallen off.
Right. Well, wouldn't I sort of say that this is not that ancient?
Yeah. There was a lot of, when I researched it, they did all sorts of stuff. Like they said lightning strikes had knocked parts of it off, and then they even had airplanes shooting at it.
It's subject to entropy. I don't know what the weather's like out here, but,
They have airplanes shooting at it. They have airplanes dropping bombs in volcanoes.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing, but like the top,
Scientology, that is.
Now it's half as tall here because they've done all sorts of monkey business to it.
That's mad. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's better if I center the pic before I go to the next pic. Now we know that we've heard that there's areas of the Grand Canyon that are not open to the public. I think it's because some initial reports were that they found what we call Egyptian-looking artifacts. But when we go to the Grand Canyon, we find an entire wall of one side that has brick structure.
I seen a video years ago on YouTube of a guy going in one of these shafts.
Yeah.
And basically they've wiped it off YouTube since you can't find any trace of it.
Yeah.
But look, even the floor is brick. You can see how it's like coming down and sliding over. You can see it.
Yep. And I just really like that shot. It just
and
seems
that's high up too. That's not down by the river. It's high up.
Yeah. It just seems like it would be too hard to conceive that somebody would do that. In their free
the whole thing of climbing up there
in the free time, right? Let's see what's next. Some more chimney rock. I like this one because of how close we could get in just to some of the.
Oh, it looks quite pyramidical, like there's layers, doesn't it?
Yes. Now
And you see that same layering when you look at the Golden Stupas in India. Not only are they set up like a circuit board, because these are not temples. These are components on the grid system. They want to tell you that they're temples, so you don't ever question anything else about it.
Right.
You mentioned obelisks the other night on the show, having all of them having gold on that. I included that in my first book. I mentioned that they had electrum on there for electrical conductive purposes and part of the circuit board city.
Yeah, and like even in Vatican City, in the center there, their obelisk still has tech on it. The tech outside of the Pantheon.
And a reliquary, apparently, inside the top of that obelisk is supposed to be a part of the cross of Jesus Christ.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
I did not know that.
Now, this is also in western Nebraska. This is near Bridgeport, Nebraska, and it's the two features. The one on the left is called Courthouse, and the one on the right is called Jail Rock.
Interesting.
Yeah, Courthouse and Jail Rock, but, I mean, these just scream melted building.
Yeah.
And if we mag in a little...
It almost reminds me of one of the fortresses that you would see in India. That's the whole top of the mountain thing, because the whole thing is the building, and that just kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, like that Red Fort.
Yeah, India's got some next level
It's
stuff.
got some insane stuff, I know. It is. But that's credible.
Yeah, Bridgeport, Nebraska, and let's see, where did it go? Okay, I guess that one's not going to share with us. Hang on a second. Why is it doing that? I seem to have lost it.
Maybe it's just loading.
Yeah, it could be. Let's just jump to the next one. Something's happened to my slideshow.
We got 630 people really enjoying this.
Yeah.
Make sure to share this out.
Oh, there we go.
Thanks. And make sure to sub to Bill and Jenn's channels, guys, because there's a lot more videos here.
I'm dropping my backup channel link into the chat right now, so please subscribe to my backup channel, guys, if you can. You never know when they're going to take me down.
Indeed.
Okay, I think I got it sorted out. Okay, we're going to move into Sedona, Arizona. This is Cathedral Rock, and when we mag in, we get to see that black drippy stuff that Jenn was mentioning earlier.
Cathedral Rock. Are they just telling you?
Right, right. Mm-hmm. And, that black drippy stuff, I mean, it does make sense to have kind of an asphalt on your roof to, for water. It's in a lot of spots, this black drippy stuff.
And it always seems to be coming from the very top down.
Yeah.
I mean, I just put one and one together. To me, it could be some kind of shingling or asphalt roofing. I know in England, there's a lot of black conical roofs that have that black shingle on it. So if those buildings melted down, that asphalt shingle would just melt and run down. That's what it does.
They're all black slate where I am.
Like tar.
Black slate roof.
All right.
I guess slates would run black as well. It was melted.
All right. So I might have to skip over some of those. Back to some black and white. You see a lot of people just posing. Like maybe the camera crew brought people with them just to pose.
Perspective reasons.
And then up here, I just thought that these look column-like along this area, just below the ridge line.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's see. I wish
you really do look column-like.
One of my, if I can... Boy,
it's like a bit of an old classical building all along the top of that bit.
Yeah.
That is not being destroyed.
I just dropped Bill Miller's channel in the chat, guys. Make sure you subscribe to Bill Miller.
Thank you very much. Yeah, if you can just get the word Billmillerflip into the search box in YouTube, you're just a click away from the channel after you watch.
I found you, no problem. I couldn't find me, but I found you.
Oh, really? Yeah, some people do get buried. I was even
shadow banned from myself.
That is so bizarre. I mean, you can, even if you type in the title of the channel perfectly, you still have to go searching for it sometimes,
I still managed to break through somehow, but, they do quiet me, or try to. There you are, Billy Ziggs just subbed. Good. Nice one, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
That's definitely red bricky color, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think I've got it back on track. How are you guys feeling? I mean, the slideshow kind of goes on for a while. Jen and I have been putting stuff together. I can keep going, or we can transition.
Have you got any of that film you were showing?
Sure do.
Oh,
yeah.
It was an half hour or so. We take it up to 3 hours then, because it's like we're on 2.5 hours now, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this, honestly. And anyone watching this, the time will go like that, because it's very engrossing. So.
Yes.
All right. Now, just let me get my bearings here and how we do that. It would be a video file.
That 3D printing one was amazing because,
yes,
like I've been talking about 3D printed antiquity, when I went to the Czech Republic, I could have sworn some of these buildings had welds, granite welds, which they would say was a seam or of gypsum or something. But no, they were welds from when this cathedral was smashed and put back together again. And just the most unbelievable evidence I've seen out there, I swear, and from Meltology and mud floods, the whole thing.
Right. Do you think I would have to stop sharing to introduce the video and bring it back, or can I just switch over?
You switch over.
Okay.
Just, on your next page over, it'll just go straight to it.
All right.
Just make sure you don't show, anything like your emails or anything.
No, I see it down there. I'm just, I've loaded it, but for some reason I think I can't get off the slideshow. Should I stop sharing and then come back?
Yeah, do that.
That'll work too.
Okay. Yeah.
So thanks everybody for coming. This is super fantastic Wednesday night. I'm getting like proper melt on. Smashing
I think it's interesting that we have such high resolution pictures from the 1800s, and even the video, because the video we're about to watch is from like the 20s or 30s. I think some of them are colorized.
Family films, yeah?
Yeah. In the 60s, we have black and white. So it's like this technology came out and then it went back. And then they brought it back out.
These thermal vents and the geysers.
Yeah.
There's something going on with there. There's a bigger story to that.
So much heat, down below.
We don't know what was in this location and what melted.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, this could have been some type of power plant,
It is a fuel source, isn't it? Thermoelectric, and it's just like they could drive.
And there's something down there that's still running, still working. I remember a story a long time ago. This is way before I was ever even into flat Earth or anything. I was more into ancient aliens at the time and stuff.
Well, we've all been there.
And there's a story of this man who was up in these mountains somewhere like in Romania or something, and he just happened to see this like little opening in the mountains that he was in. And he goes in and he wiggles his way back in here, and he swore he heard a machine running in there. He said there was like this little crevice that he was able to work his way through, and he could hear this hum of a machine going in there. And at the time I was like, what the hell's a machine doing in a mountain? And I just never even thought about it. When I got onto this subject years later, I'm like, of course, it's a building. Building has stuff in them. And some of these buildings, the water's still running. Something's still working down there. Something's making noises,
Super interesting.
And it's interesting how they have no fear of this stuff. It's like now it's like, oh, you can't go near that. You can't touch that. All this stuff. These people are all over the park touching everything. Like,
they're supposed to have noxious areas as well with like sulfur gases that kill you and stuff in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And we keep hearing that that psyop that Yellowstone is ready to blow any day now.
Yeah, it pisses me off. that Caldera business. There's no way of proving it for yourself anyway. Just got to take their word for it. See that mountain? They'll say, see that mountain range in the distance? Everything from here to there is lava. Oh yeah, right. So where is it all then below your feet?
So lava, if you believe in lava, then you believe in the molten core and you're still spinning in space on a ball.
Yeah. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same thing, isn't it? The thing is, they can't have it both ways. Look, if they think, you know, like say for example with plate tectonics, okay, so it's their theory, right? That it's supposed to be the land masses are supposed to be floating on what you call rafts, if you like, on lava on the mantle, and then water's underneath, and they're all supposed to be moving. And apparently, India went up into Asia and caused the Himalayas to rise. And now, if they believe that they're on a ball spinning, 1,000 miles an hour, then centrifuge would make all of them land masses over time all spludge up together, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, if it was on rafts, and that don't happen, so none of it happens because it's all bullshit. Anyway.
Absolutely. 100%.
I know.
We have no idea what's below us and how all this actually really works. And they're definitely not going to, they're spending way too much time and money to hide it from us. They're never going to tell us. They'll let little pieces and parts out here and there. And
they
if
want
you
to think about space. So like they say, like, oh, we know less about like what we know more about space than the oceans. And I think like, well, they're making that up. So like, and I think the oceans is a really important place. They would have sort of underwater cities, if you like, or places to live under the water, because that's quite protective if it's sealed. So I think that the ocean's quite significant, and it is most of the place apparently anyway. Do you know if you Google pyramids underwater, there's like 40,000 hits? There's still, and like you said, with these mountains still active, how do you know that like these pyramids are not buried? There's still things happening inside them, the tech underwater.
Right.
Yeah, because when a circuit board melts down, the component next to one of the other components could melt down, and right over that component that's still okay. Yeah. It's melted over it. You can't even see the component anymore. Maybe only a little piece of it's sticking out.
Maybe they're searching for it in case it causes a catastrophe. Because this is tech we're talking about. I definitely think that the Ark of the Covenant is definitely in existence somewhere. I really do think this is an artifact of significance, and I think it's some sort of plasma. Maybe it just fits into the center esophagus thing.
I think the Ark of the Covenant is a component, a main component to something else. It connects with something else, and it's able, like the fasci.
It's along them lines. And there was three arcs as well. And there's no mistake. The ark as well. Its name is Ark, like electrical arc.
Ark, like arc, high
or
tech,
archangel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the word architecture, it's right in there. It's arc, ARC, and then it's high, and then tech, and then chur. And chur means bright. And these buildings were brightly lit. They had free energy everywhere. So the buildings are the texture. They are the architecture.
I like it.
Oh, they seem to know what they're looking at, these people. Just like random rocks. Would people do that nowadays? Well, we would, but I mean...
Yeah, I mean, this family, I mean, I found these, most states and countries have like a digital archives, and I've found some, the collection of digital archives for Nebraska, and, the families have donated them to the state and the project so that, these could be preserved and shared, because we're running out of film projectors to, watch this stuff on. So families were donating these things in hopes that they would preserve their family's memories. And it's, I always check, and it's in the public domain. It's not a copyright issue. It's just sharing something that they wanted to share, but yeah, they knew what they were shooting, it seems like.
I've got some movies like this, families, but they're visiting the expositions. Actually, I've presented them a few times, and I found loads of clues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The early 1800 pictures of people on the beaches, and they're in their full outfits and stuff, like as if they'd never been to the beach before, right?
I've seen that footage. It looks like they've never been.
They've never been there. But then as the footage goes on and years go on later, then they start getting bathing suits. And oh, wait, they found their towels and stuff, But early on, it's like,
Nobody
it's
knew.
like the dress, the attire, everything doesn't match. You know what I mean?
Maybe underground. It's like, what is it? What is that stuff?
Yeah.
Water. I mean,
this
who knows
just
where all the arrivals came from?
this
Could have been underground, all we know.
This
Yeah.
just looks like a wasteland here, you know.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
it does.
totally desolate.
That's definitely where they shot that they shoot Mars.
Right, it does.
Yeah, Mars. If you ever look at pictures of Mars that NASA puts out, there's all melted buildings all over Mars. So there's that.
I bet it is. I bet you could identify where it is. You knew your melters. I know that one.
They used to get out and travel, man. Yeah.
Denver Island, anyway, they're filming Mars, aren't they? Up in Canada.
Look at that
Devon
car.
Island.
Ah, man, I remember
She don't have
hitting
a
the road.
seatbelt on.
Imagine that in this day and age.
Yeah.
You'd never be allowed
They didn't have
to be
seatbelts.
They were also intrepid back then. It's like they didn't
Yeah.
worry, no life jackets, nothing. Not worried about anything. Or we'll just go and walk 3 miles up a mountain. Now we'd be all right.
I like it.
Like the American Von Trapps, aren't they? The hills are alive.
Sound of music.
There's a clue there, see?
Music.
Telling you right there, Jen. La 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 la.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, the one family, they went to South America. They went to Europe. I mean, this family from Lincoln, Nebraska, they went on all these family vacations. They have like a dozen reels of film that they donated, and
Cool.
but I mean, where is this heat? I mean, there's some sort of reaction going on below, like from leftover energy or interaction between the materials from the X Factor event, and it's still producing heat.
Yeah, it has to be something like that because the geological narrative makes no freaking sense on a flat plane. So Yellowstone cannot be what they're telling us it is. Just like all these other volcanoes and stuff, they have ways of faking volcanoes. They've had that concoction since the 1700s.
Yeah. And on Vesuvius, when you showed that, it looked like they were carrying a grandma up to the top.
Yeah.
What was the point of looking? Did you ever? I mean, what was the?
They were
journey
just so enamored with seeing this volcano, right? But see, if this is an active volcano, you're not going to go hike your ass up there. And you could see it was treacherous to get up there. You had to sit on this said chair. You had 2 guys in the front, 2 guys in the back, hiking your ass up there. I even have an etching, or excuse me, it's a drawing of them pushing and pulling a pregnant woman up there. Okay.
Yeah.
What is so important to get up there and see? I feel that they were going up and seeing the remains of things that were still there. Kind of like if you went up to Herodium and looked in, you're going to see stuff.
Okay.
Because right after that.
That makes sense. All that effort as well.
And then look, World War I, World War II, they start bombing this thing. Our planes, the Allied forces, us, were there before, during, and after the 44 eruption. And and they admit dropping bombs in this thing.
I thought it was always interesting that they said that it was from throwing bombs out of planes, but the bombs never hit the streets. There wasn't any craters in the streets.
Yeah,
right?
I know. For Berlin as well. It's just it's just crazy. And I studied them Hamburg shots this week, and I can't get my head around why all of the buildings completely gutted, still standing, and no craters. I'm trying to work out where the craters have landed and where the bombs have landed, and there's no evidence for them landing.
Yeah.
No, London should be peppered with holes all over the place.
Night after night, a blitz. It shouldn't be well, it's a big city, but I'm just saying it should have been a lot more damage, you'd think.
Yeah.
But it was very selective, and they kept it all to the East End. And when they did go to the West End, they did one token explosion apparently on Buckingham Palace on a wing, again like the Pentagon. There was an occupied.
It was under construction.
Under construction. So conveniently free of treasures.
Hampton Court. If you look at Hampton Court,
it's a red bricker.
It's all red brick. It is a component on the grid system for sure.
500-year-old Henry VIII, my ass.
You could see melted brick in there if you look at the doorways and where the people come up. The handles for the doors inside that place are literally at head level. Okay, so you have to reach up to turn
Up
the door.
to them. And I see now in the Czech Republic they've lowered all the handles.
Yeah, And then the doors themselves, the doorways, I mean, you can see generally all the people in Hampton Court walking through. And then there's like another 10 feet above them where the rest of the doorway is. Who the hell was walking through this Hampton Court that was 20 feet tall?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. I've looked into it. It's crazy. Looks like a London red brick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be from Middle Ages.
And what was it? Palace of Versailles has no bathrooms in it. It had a lot of gold in it. That was
400 rooms, no toilets, all that gold. It makes no sense. It had to be some sort of complex installation, some sort of device. You've seen they say it was a wooden automated machine called the Marley machine, which was a pump for Versailles to get all the water into the gardens.
Yeah, the pressurized water. Yeah.
Yeah, pressurized water. But I think it was something far more metal. The Marley machine, I think.
So they'll give us the narrative that kings lived there. It's a palatial estate, and here's where his room was, and this is where the king and the queen ate their dinners and everything. That's all hogwash. That's all bullshit. That's an historical narrative that they put on that place, so you buy the lie that this is actually a palace.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure if they were heating their houses because
no bathrooms. There's no bathrooms in the palace.
Bathrooms, but no heating. I'm not sure if they had heated clothing or it never got cold or what. But what we're finding, the narrative in Mary Poppins, the chimney sweep boys.
Mm-hmm.
Boys that go down the chimneys in Victorian London and sweep the chimney.
Right.
I tell you, like that thing was going on. But there is a thing out there that they capture loads of these chimneys off in the Victorian era. And there's a lot of on the photographs where there's like there's no smoke coming out of them.
Right.
So I'm wondering, we've surmised whether it was radium heating,
free energy,
antirons. You get
there's a lot of good information out there on that radium stuff. That was amazing. I'd never heard of it until just recently.
Free energy fireplaces with those aldehydes and the radium, and the chimney was more of a cold air intake.
Exactly what the point is.
Yeah,
and they're telling you like chimney sweep boys, which seems barbaric anyway.
Right.
It's just another spin and narrative to make you think that was the case. When really that's alternative heating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right out of nowhere, out of a wall or somewhere.
And then they would use the children because they're the ones that are small enough to get down there, so they would throw that into the narrative. It's so horrible and child labor, and we got laws for that now, But it'll still get you to buy the narrative that they had these chimneys were being used for smoke.
That's why they do it, to infuse the narrative with horror.
Yeah.
Same with the Great Eastern. They say that they had the boys doing riveting, and the riveter's job was they catch a red hot rivet in their hands with gloves, and they're in the inside of the ship because it's two skims, and they reckon that some of the boys literally got steel plated into the.
Oh, I remember you telling me.
And they said that they were there was loads that got put into this, the bulkhead of the Great Eastern.
Yeah,
and it made it really unlucky, because it did only a few voyages. They said it wasn't. Cost effective, and then it ends up apparently laying another bullshit narrative, the transatlantic line, which ties into another bullshit narrative, which is the Titanic, because the first telegraph emergency ever done was for the Titanic. See how all these bullshit narratives are lacing in to get you away from the free energy and the communications that were there already.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that the even older ships, the wooden ships that we see and stuff, they had tech on them. They had the St. Elmo's fire. We've even seen etchings of ancient ships, supposedly, that look like Tesla towers on them and stuff that.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah. And why would you waste so much St. Elmo's fire when you?
Why? Exactly. Why? There's no way that they built this awesome, amazing architecture on land, and then they just got these wooden sail ships with, flashing light things and flags to communicate with each other. I mean, they had to have communication. Yeah. I mean, really good communication, not just
the way that the ships came like the airplanes, didn't they? You got the ironclads in the American Civil War. The next 20 years later, you got things called juggernauts in the German fleet, which are 250,000 ton cities.
Yes, we covered that on one of my shows, the ironclads and the orphan trains and everything. These ironclads came out of nowhere, and France has one that they made, their first one that they ever made. It's like city size, okay?
Yeah, they're all
planning for this thing would have taken decades, okay, let alone executing it.
Just mad. That's supposed to be the first
time.
Like,
we got electricity now. Now we're busting out ironclads.
Just makes no sense, does it? Oh, yeah. I read, I found out this week that a lot of North American chiefs were in fact females, and it's only the narrative which pushes Hiawatha or Geronimo, which sort of tried to get you to think that it was all a male dominant chiefry, which it wasn't. Apparently, it was loads of female chiefs, which I believe actually.
Yeah,
they
were training chiefs.
Yeah, it was this Western things pushing the male patriarchy thing, isn't it? But I don't think they do that in indigenous populations.
I love ice skating. I used to ice skate.
Never done it. I've done it once, and you broke my ankles.
Yeah, I used to be able to go backwards and spin around and stuff. I'd probably fall on my ass now.
It looks foolish and dangerous. Skating on ice. What? I know.
Skating on thin ice.
Skating on thin ice. Oh, we're all doing that. Oh, look at that mudflood though. Vanished. Is this in Nebraska still?
I think this is Canada.
All right.
Yeah, there was that Fond du Lac hotel that they supposedly built in 1 year or something, according to the narrative.
Was that building earlier? They look like the Overlook.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks mud flooded. That.
It does.
Oh yeah, for sure. With
that
building,
portals in the side as well.
See these big round windows running across that floor. Yeah. We saw that in that few melted buildings back that I was showing on my little presentation. We were seeing them, round portico window looking things that were kind of
imagine that melted. Right?
Yep.
Wow.
Now check this out, guys. Seville Cathedral in Spain has
seen it.
It has 44 tons of gold in it. Okay. 44 tons of gold. Let that sink in for a second. And the narrative on that is that the conquistadors went over to the New World, raped and pillaged, and brought all the gold back, and they gilded the church walls with this gold. Of course, they would say that. They need a narrative on why there's so much gold in this church.
It's conductive purposes.
Yeah. So check it out. All right, we know why the gold's in there. It has a functionality. It's part of the cathedral, the tech and everything. But if that thing would have melted down, there would be a huge vein of gold there. And I guarantee you one of these elites would be mining the shit out of that place.
Right. We have a story here in Milwaukee. There's a St. Josaphat's Cathedral down on the south side. It has massive gold dome. It used to be solid gold dome, and then they did a renovation project to it back like 100 years ago. And they ended up, whoever was in charge just gilded the dome instead of returned the solid gold. So it looked the same, but 90% of took the gold away. Yeah.
This is what I think the gold rush was. The gold rush out to California was not a gold rush like we've been told. I think
it makes more sense to me, Jen.
Taking that gold down off the domes out there.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, and the copper. It's
only 2 weeks ago. I seen a narrative. They said that they replaced this copper dome on a building because it was caving in, and then they had to build another one, and they didn't put the copper back up, and it looked less nice. And I was thinking, no, that makes no fucking sense because all these copper domes are around today in Britain. So, and I got to thinking. So I think you might be onto something there, Jan.
I think that they went in and cleaned out a lot of these places. Even if you just look at the mud flood side of it. Okay, so people come back in. There's all muddy streets. Somebody was there to put in pavements because even though there's muddy streets, it seems to be sidewalks. Okay, so somebody came in and put sidewalks in and also took everything out of these buildings and made them completely empty. Where did all that stuff go?
You got a bloody good point, Jan.
Where is it all? There had to be stuff in there. We have stuff in our buildings.
It's gold, smokable, no trades. That's silly. Stop that.
There we go. Devils, now we're in Wyoming.
Devil's Tower, indeed. So a lot of people think it's a tree trunk, don't they?
Yes. Shapu has showed proof of brick down in the lower part of this. I don't have that evidence with me or anything, but Chaput has shown definite brick around that. I think it was definitely some type of a tower. I used to think it was a part of a tree or some type of vegetation, but I've refined my ideas on that topic for a few different sites that I used to consider to be absolute 100% trees.
Yeah.
And my main focus now is on Meltology, so I'm not really looking for any type of.
I've
But
learned
if
a
I
lot of
find it, I talk about it.
the stuff inside it, you know, like that's what I was like when they said it was a tree. I was always thinking, yeah, but there's supposed to be all of these places, you know, that I heard about on coast to coast inside it. You know, years ago, coast to coast, I heard one lady talking about like she was seeing stuff coming out of it, cars going into it, and there's a lot of action on just like in the film Close Encounters. You know, there's a lot of action around the tower, military-wise as well.
Right. But, you know, if you think about it, Martin, they knew this topic was going to come out, just like they knew Flat Earth was going to come out and Mandela effect, all this stuff. Isn't it interesting how we went from titans or from giant trees to sleeping giants to mud flood to melted buildings? I think that they were trying to put things out ahead of things getting out and be like, okay, you're going to figure out that's not what we said it was, but we're going to tell you it's something else. It's just like Flat Earth. Okay, you're going to figure out it's flat. We know that, but we're going to tell you there's this ice wall that goes all the way around. Sorry, you can't go any further. That's not true. There's maps that show the ice wall being land. And
on the Monty map, it's all green and pasture.
It's called
Terra del Fuego. To find out if there's icebergs in the southern hemisphere or past the 60s. Can anyone report back to me this week? No one can. We can't establish if that's even fucking cold. Okay.
Right. Exactly. They won't let you pass the 60th parallel. Exactly. On the maps, it's called Terra del Fuego, not Terra del Ice.
Yeah.
I got loads of maps showing there's a lot of action, animals and stuff down in whatever this place is supposed to be. And it comes up as high as Tropic of Capricorn on a lot of maps as well, which would make it subtropical.
Yeah. Some of the old maps. Go ahead.
If they could steer the narrative, which we know they love to, if they can't control it coming out, they'll steer the narrative to their benefit. They'll steer you just enough away from the truth that you'll just zip right by it and you'll think that's a tree stump. Oh, look, it's a tree or it's a mining operation or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you figured out it's not what we said it was, but you're going to
think you're wrongly classifying stuff with something that's not it. Yeah, I know.
I forgot what I was going to say.
They're very tricky, and
I'm on them. We're on them, Jenn. We're on them. We're on them. We're too fucking smart for them.
Yeah.
I remember what I was going to say. I remember that Admiral Byrd interview on the Longines Chronicle Hour, and he says, well, Antarctica was once tropical, you know, and that there is evidence to support that that area was lush and tropical with wild animals and exotic animals.
Maps showed the same. So the subtropical Pierre Ries, the Turkish admiral.
Yeah.
And he said he got those maps from an older time. So when?
Yes.
And when in any of these maps? And how come the maps are not like that? Them maps you showed is the first, like, you know, sort of chronology of maps that I've seen in a long time. You try doing that for the changes of America. I mean, Island California, the missing lakes, 5 lakes missing. And, you know, these changes, you can't pinpoint.
And you know the thing, they didn't take millions of years to all this to happen because it's from one map to the next. It's just like, where's all these millions of years?
Some of them are old. You know, I was looking at only Azimuth with this, an old map today with basically the Hyperborean on it, and it was like, you know, it was like early 1700s, and I'm like, well, why the effort? And why are they always 4 continents? And why are they always the same? Why do they keep mapping this stuff in the old days and there's no one mapping it now? Why is it? You know, it's a lot to be thought about that. You know, the northern lands, and they are hiding lands. I know they are. They're doing it, and if that comes out, real estate and all that bullshit just falls apart. And this flat Earth group's going to come out anyway. I don't care.
On the Montalbano map, it's 1598 or 1595.
Yeah, 1598, around that. Yeah.
Okay, so on that ring of land masses that are going around that they tell us is an ice wall, one of those land masses is Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those outer land masses is Australia, and Tasmania is just off of it, and so is New Zealand. So whoever lives down there should get in a boat and keep going outward and see how you go, because you're already on the outer ring.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Tasmania's
it's not down under. It's like over and out is what it is. It's not down and under. It's like over and out.
Tierra Australis. I think I've seen it depicted as Tierra Australis, and it makes that big loop. That's amazing.
No, I think it's not all ice at all. I think there's land there. I think there's ways through. I think there's definitely ways through.
What if the idea of more land resonates with me, and then just think if that area wasn't affected by the X Factor event. What if there's structures this massive, still in existence?
Like Gulliver's Travels, like this is Lilliput.
Yeah.
And we're the little folk.
Yeah. Maybe the big people just got to the point and said, we're out of here. Here, you have it. We're out of here. We're gone.
And that's why everyone's forgotten everything. Like they don't know anything about the past. They don't know anything about where we're standing on. They don't know anything about this reality, where life has arisen from, what we're doing here, the purpose of life, the meaning of it all. They do not know shit about shit, which does my head in. Yeah. Really, we've come further than all of them, I think, in this truth movement.
It's an amazing feeling.
Discoveries wise, I think we've come a lot further than them.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful to be in this position, and I'm just creating short films and collecting evidence, and I mean I feel great. I mean I feel like I'm on the right path, and when you get into that zone, that path of just creativity, it can touch on a lot of different things. And a week ago had no idea I was going to be presenting on Meltology, even though my files on Meltology are huge, and I needed to do something with it. It was just that quick. It was just like, here, now it's time, and I'm just going to go with it, and it's here's my evidence, and it's been amazing.
And bring it all up, man. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Anybody who's new to this, it's just because a lot of people are still trying to wrap their heads around this whole. I mean, they wrap their heads around mud flood. It's like, okay, I can deal with that. And there's buried buildings and stuff. And then we're bringing out this next level of truth, guys. It's next level. We need to know this stuff. We should have always have known the Earth's flat. We should have always have known the parameters of our plane and the things that surround us and what happened before. But they've controlled all that information. They've had us under a perception deception. From the day we're born.
I think, I mentioned it earlier, but I think as children, we are brought into this realm, and I think we have this innate feeling of we're already in touch, and we can identify things, and things we seem wrong, and we ask the right questions, and that's just kind of conditioned out of most children as we go along, and so we just got this
we're born enlightened, and it's just downward spiral from there when they get hold of us. And we're sold away at an instant when our parents indirectly register us, which is a bit of a sad thing. But I think we know all the answers, and I think it's just a case of we've been in an amnesic state, and the universe is very, very caring. So it's going to do it gently for us. It's like the more we learn, it's not going to just splatter our brains so we can't function when we learn all of the truth. So we're being conditioned, if you like. We're getting these big, massive brain splatting things. But I just got a feeling it's just the tip of the ocean, tip of the iceberg. I really do. I feel that, the universe is getting us ready.
We're uncovering so much of the truth, and one thing is leading us to the next thing, and it's happening exponentially.
All the while, they're winding up to do something really big, which is coming in the near future, as I'm sure you can feel and
Yeah, absolutely.
They're really soon. Yeah.
When I found out the Earth was flat, so many things made sense.
Same, yeah.
And then once I found out that there was this crazy X Factor event, And so many things made sense. And then when I realized things were melted, well, it destroyed geology for me. Their millions of years just went completely out the window. Each thing that we come upon, each truth is destroying their story one piece at a time.
Yeah, that's sort of like just to boost up evolution. And you get that prick like Richard Dawkins, and he says, "Oh, we know nothing." He said, "If you look at your fingernail, that's how long humans have been existing. A fingernail to the length of your arm." Like,
oh
so
my
this
gosh.
is how long, eons and eons of time. He's just explaining how all of this geology is formed. He said, "Does my head in? All evolution, no evidence for evolution. It's just another stupid theory."
Yep.
Yeah, maybe one species just turns into another species. Oh, none. No. They say, "Oh, it's a stickleback fish up in a loch in Scotland." So what did it change into? They says, "Oh, it was another species of stickleback fish." It didn't really change from another animal to another animal, did it? It changed from a fish to a fucking fish. So they got nothing, literally.
Yeah. Nothing.
So that's been us 3 hours, man. That went like that.
It was fun. I really had a good time.
Super fun. Super fun. Fucking hell, what a brilliant subject. It's buzzy, really buzzy subject. Well, let's give a few people shouts anyway. We've still got over 600 people watching.
Holy cow.
Holy cow indeed. So thanks everybody for coming. Hope you all had a really good evening. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. I have been really particularly excited for this one, guys. I have. Jen, my old mate, you were fantastic as usual.
Thank you, Martin. I'd love to have you on my show soon.
Well, I'm here. Just ask me, I'm here. I'd be happy to.
Okay, we'll set something up for sure.
I'm
this
Bill.
is awesome.
Yep.
Bill, who I've actually indirectly known for years in my comments, but didn't actually know until the other day that he was smashing it and had all of these really juicy movies and photographs of all of this good stuff.
I remember Bill. Bill would always tell me, "I'm still learning, Jen. I'm still learning."
But he does his due diligence, like you stated earlier.
He did. He did. He learned, and he watched, and he listened, and he looked for himself, and he learned when a lot of people were still saying, "You're crazy, Jen."
Listening to you the other night, it was so refreshing. It was like, oh, at last, they're like, it's literally talking my language. I know everything you're saying, and you're all talking like, I just know what I'm here.
I mean, it's just, it's everything that I've learned from the community, and Lee, your subscriber channel, his stuff early on, I was like, slideshow and music. I'm like,
special kind of genius.
I'm like, how do you do that? I'm like, I want to do that, and like
that's easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I was telling myself, when I first started, and that's just slideshow and music, and then you just keep that great energy flowing through you, and creativity.
Images going. He thinks about the music to go with them, and if you just lose yourself in it, it's quite fantastical.
Yeah,
the images are.
I feel that's where I'm at.
Their narrative, every one of them, and he thinks them out as well. He's really smart, super smart, in fact.
It's brilliant. He is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a brilliant man. A guy who drives a van and does what he does. People don't really know because he keeps himself quiet and he's a very humble man. But
Shout out to Lee.
Shout out to Lee. Much lovely.
Tommy.
He goes through him most days anyway. So we talk about a lot of this stuff we work out, before we present it. So make sure that we get proof. That's always a biggie. So, John, thank you all. Thank you, Jack and Sage is in house. Crazy mom. She's a crazy man. Dave Martin. Capalocious. Calm down, madam. Calm down, please. CW. Liddy. So I know you've all had a fantastic night anyway. That's been an excellent buzz. Some brilliant stuff put forward. Lots to think about. And it's amazing how much of it ties in with all the other stuff as well, doesn't it?
It's all connected. All of it. I remember when I was on a show with Bill, one of the first shows, I guess it was over on Ray's channel, and you're like, I don't quite understand how this mud flood and X Factor is connected.
Yeah.
But now, once you take the journey and you look for yourself and you do your own research, don't just listen to me. You start to see how it comes together. It's all related, and it all happened not that long ago.
Somebody just get ready for dragons. Somebody's been watching Game of Thrones, I reckon. Nothing's off the table, and beyond the bounds of possibility. This could be like that film Reign of Fire, and that's what caused the melted building.
That's my motto lately. Is everything's on the table for discussion.
And one thing is certain, it's clearly melted. Something melted it. And like if geologists are going to tell you it's melt erosion, that's one of their terms that they use, or sedimentary layers, millions of years, and all this stupid stuff. And it's
that makes no sense. It's stupid. It's all of it.
Hey, Morgan over at Isabella Live 2.0. How you doing, man?
Oh,
Morgan.
yeah, is that Isabella? Yeah. Live 2.0.
Yeah.
I know how Isabella.
Hey, Morgan. Good to see you, mate.
It was just about everywhere in the truth community. Canada, me. My brothers are Moxie. Don't fall off down there, Zal. Blue Sky, Vibs, or Vibes. And we got a real royal in here, King Schnugelgerson.
Oh, yeah.
He's got proper horns. He wears a helmet as well.
Oh, no, the Vikings never had horns.
He's a real Viking king.
They never had horns on their things. It's a Mandela effect.
He's living in the past. Okay. I'm big on time travel, always have been, and I was like, it's always been an obsession with mine, and it's something that I think you don't need a machine for either. But I would love to go back and have a look.
Yeah. Yes.
More than anything.
Well, if our minds are as powerful as they tell us they are, and we used to be able to read each other's minds and have all these extrasensory perceptions and stuff.
We did have it.
Why wouldn't we have been able to astro travel back to the past?
Listen to the words of Jethro Tull's Living in the Past. In that track, it's a very transcendental track, and he tells you clearly that we have the ability to travel back in the past. It says we do not need this machine.
If they kept us disconnected from that traveling back to the past, they can tell us whatever they want about the past. Make up any lies they want. If we connect to that...
Sorry. No, I was just thinking Future Martin have been leaving me messages because there's stuff that I've been finding that only I would know.
Right.
Have
we? Do we have an I Heart Fairies sighting?
We do have a Hi Heart Fairy. She's in here somewhere. Tommy Rogers, Canadian brother. Seat B. See you, Seat the B.
Rush has a lot of good lyrics too. Rush.
Yeah, I don't go on about Rush because people think I look like him, and I don't at all. But they
got some crazy lyrics, though.
I don't look like Jedgy Lee. That's ridiculous. Whoever said that. Anyway, I'm a hologram. I've been told this week.
Future Martin.
Future Martin. Yeah. But there's a lot of wormholes and portals in all of these films lately. They're nearly in every one. It does your head in. It's like everyone's popping in and out of all the different parallel dimensions. Right. It seems to be like, it really does feel like we're in a parallel dimension compared to where we've been. Nothing seems the same, tastes the same, looks the same. People are just not the same, are they? Since they had that, it's just like we're living in a separate reality.
We're in Bizarro world. I woke up in Bizarro world. Everything was still muffed up before, but now it's just next level crazy, and I'm just like,
it is a special kind of crazy. It is next level crazy. Well put, Jen. It is. Good job of Truther community here to shine some sanity on it all. Otherwise we'd all go totally scatty. So I don't know about CERN there. That's the recipe. They like to blame that on a lot of things. But we can't substantiate any of that. Yeah. And it's all to do with the quantum realm, which we also can't substantiate. Unless you want to do a double split experiment in your bedroom, send me the film. That'd be cool.
Whatever they're doing, it's most likely nefarious.
Yeah. Pink Floyd lyrics. Yeah, they tell you about Reset as well. Pink Floyd lyrics are absolutely fantastic. They know exactly. Very water related, very Phoenician themed as well about the Reset. So thanks, guys. I don't keep you any longer. So you want to get on with your days, and it's gone midnight here in the UK. So,
thank you again for having me, and I definitely want to get together and do a show with you, Martin, for sure. And Bill, definitely you're going to come back on the show, no doubt. And
for sure.
I just want to say thank you to everybody here who's been spending all this time with us, listening to our research. And
500 people there. This has been I know, for a nice Wednesday night. Thanks, Bill, man. You've been a star.
Thank you, Martin. This has been epic for me. This is a first for me. 500 watching. That's a first. Wow.
Well, there you are.
Feels
so
good.
Everything on from this point to be easy peasy. So
it felt good. I mean, that wave of excitement. It wasn't. I'm feeling better at it. So thank you for
energy. And afterwards as well, all that energy coming.
Yeah, that adrenaline. It'll stay with you after the show for like an hour or two, and you have to like wind down and stuff. I used to go through that all the time. I'd be like so psyched up, and then it's like, oh, the show's over.
I can't go straight to sleep because I'm still my head's like, and I got like 1,000 people thinking of me.
Like, we got a little sunlight left. I might go out and work in the garden.
I don't blame you. It's been beautiful here today. Can't wait for the weekend. Anyway,
I'm living in hell. It's like 105 here. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, I'm all right like that.
The melt around me.
Any excuse to wear less, but hotter the better for me. I love the heat.
Last week, the furnace kicked on here, and then today we're closing in on 90. So we went from furnace temperature to 90 degrees in a very short period of time.
Whoa!
Oh, it didn't take millions of years.
It took a couple of days.
Everyone's saying how hot it is in America. South Carolina's supposed to be cooking.
Ooh, the humidity. Woo.
Yeah, I heard it was 115 in Oklahoma.
Damn.
Yeah, somebody ordered up a heat wave. I guess.
Well, it's coming this way because we have stuff 3 days after America. Always.
We can get together a few $1 billion. We can order us up a cool wave to come in here.
We don't have our own weather. We're too small an island, so we always just inherit everybody else's weather. So it's just the Americas coming this way, isn't it? So that'd be good. Yay.
Well, guys, let it not be said that we stood by and did nothing.
Exactly. And we're dying on the right side of history. So super fantastic.
I can't wait to be on the other side of the firmament.
Same. Like the Truman Show. We're going to knock and get out.
Be out of here.
Xanadu. There you are. El Dorado. Xanadu.
Good day, good afternoon, good evening.
And good night.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
But not good morning.
No. Good risings. Not good morning. Good risings. All right. See you all later. Thanks, guys.
Love ya.
Make sure to share this. Make sure to subscribe to Jenny and Bill. And I'll see you all very, very soon. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Much love.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to go. Bye-bye.
Good.